What is up, everybody? You're live with the Project and back with another great episode of Midcard Mike Mercenaries. Really, the first episode of this, I should say, another episode of Mike Mercenaries, where we talk about good people, good promos, what makes content great, what makes a movie, what makes literature, what makes TV shows great is a great talker, great promo, a great person that can bring people in with their charisma, with their commanding voices. And this is something me and a person that's becoming a great friend of mine, Omari, decided to do. We're always thinking of great ways to create new content, great ways to be a great entertainer, and honestly just provide an alternative to a lot of the other podcasts that are corporate, that are controlled, that are contrived. We do the complete opposite of that on this show. You know, it gets us a lot of dislike, a lot of hate, a lot of you're not going to be in the algorithm, which I heard that Elon Musk is going to make it. I think was it after yesterday, where you're not going to be on the recommended page unless you have a blue check mark. And obviously, that's a way to force people to pay for that blue check mark, because I highly doubt people still get on a check mark even with the $8. They're probably just using that as it feels like a bait and switch, even though I like the general direction that Elon Musk is taking Twitter, and it seems like it's less shadow banning and less controlled by one side, which for a long time was the left. So I don't know. Well, we'll see. I gotta make sure it's a proven commodity before I sign up for that, because honestly, when you're running any type of business or any type of podcast, you want it to grow and you want more people to see it. And the only way you can get more people to see it is by sometimes you got to play the game. And in this case, you might have to get that blue verification mark, which is $8. Hopefully, it's only an $8 one-time payment and not an $8 monthly thing. I have to look more into that. But before we get to Midcard Mercenaries, shout out to the sponsors of the day: Monster, Red Bull. I drink Red Bull all the time, and Poggers. Drink Poggers. Go use my code Prodigy Poggers. Get yourself 10% off on a great cup. I would say get the mixer. That mixer is pretty cool. Keep the lid on there tight, and it's a good mixer. I'm waiting for them to get more of the liquid type of supplements. I'm not too much into the powders. Some people are into the powders. They have a great one, the cream, the blueberry, and the cream one is really good. So once again, 10% off, which once you go over to drinkpoggers.com, check out their assorted sleeping aids and their pre and post workout aids. Like I said, I'm more of a liquid person, so that's something I suggest. One thing people have to keep in mind is when a company is new, it takes time to get these things off the ground. It takes time to get these things going. You have to get them a lot of feedback. They don't know they're doing something wrong unless you tell them. And a lot of people just complain, "Oh, I don't like it." Well, what's your solution to fix it? I'm a solution-oriented person. A lot of people aren't. So that's something that you need to be doing. But once again, save yourself 10% off when you use my code Prodigy Poggers. Poggers, I need y'all to hit me up with these suggestions that I'm giving y'all about these supplements. So yeah, as we wait for Omari, we got an assortment of people on the screen, and people are we talking about? We're going to talk about the next probably close to an hour or so. It's not going to be limited to just the people on the screen here. We're going to talk about other people, and it's WrestleMania season, which night one of WrestleMania is tomorrow. And I sent Omari a thing. He'll probably be on here in a minute. Night one of WrestleMania is tomorrow, and boy, it does not feel like it. It doesn't feel like this is one of the weaker bills, especially for WrestleMania HollyWood. I liked WrestleMania Goes HollyWood back in 2005 when WWE did it. And when they had the Eddie Guerrero and Booker T doing the Pulp Fiction, they had JBL and John Cena, a few good men. They had Stone Cold as Gladiator. They had a lot of the divas doing cool stuff. This year, I don't really understand the reference. Even though I will say this, despite me really disliking Seth Rollins, I think he did a good rendition of the Joker's solo dance on the stairs in the movie Joker that came out in 2019. Now, Becky Lynch's Batman was agenda pushing and weird. I wasn't a big fan or really into that very much, but they kind of did that. And I'm gonna tag y'all in a minute once Omari get on here for the people that my usual followers that want to get on here and hear me talk about a lot of things. Because a lot of people don't like to admit they like my podcast, but I know y'all do. Like, it's not popular to say you like me, but I know it's people that like my podcast. With that said, Omari's right there. What's up, Omari? I sent you the link. We're gonna talk about some of these people. Let's start with the females. Vicky Guerrero, one of the most undervalued, underutilized managers, which is a weak, barely used trope in wrestling. Like, I don't know why they de-emphasize wrestling. Bobby the Brain Heenan said it best. They wanted to get more women on TV, even though I think it's a place for hot women. They're called valets. But Bobby the Brain Heenan said he don't like a lot of women being managers because there's no payoff. You can't have a match with them. You can't hit them. Which depending on what type of company you want to be. I think wrestling also is not enough male versus female in a believable way. Now, a lot of these indie companies, which what better way to make your company look worse than have intergender matches where a man with credibility loses to a woman that don't have nothing to gain? Like, if you're gonna have an intergender match, do like a Jeff Jarrett. Jeff Jarrett got paid $300,000 to lose to China. At least if you're a male performer and you're concerned with your brand, make sure you're getting something out of it. A lot of these wrestlers want to do intergender matches and they get absolutely nothing out of it. I've never understood the logic behind any of that. I never understood it. If you're going to lose somebody, make sure it makes sense from a storyline standpoint and you get money from it. But getting back to Vicky Guerrero, a person that was very improbable to make it. She was a wife of a wrestler. She was Eddie Guerrero's wife, and he passed, and she became a trope storyline to stop Chavo and Rey Mysterio from fighting each other. And boy, who would have thought she was a great promo. She knows how to antagonize people. She knows how to be annoying. And I heard she's the sweetest person ever. But boy, on TV, she looked like the most evil person ever. The stuff she did with Edge was deplorable. The stuff she did with Big Show, deplorable. She was a great villain, a great, great villain. And I think she's being grossly misused in AEW. She's with Andrade, but he's sitting at home. I don't think Vicky Guerrero, she was with Nyla Rose for a while. Nyla Rose is not the champion. Why waste somebody? And this shows you the amateur, just unprofessional nature of Tony Khan. Tony Khan, who's the president of AEW, co-president along with his father of AEW, it shows you the type of people that they misuse. Vicky Guerrero is a very valuable asset. She could be getting a lot of these younger talents over that need her. She could be on the mic representing her, as Paul Heyman will say, my client. She could be representing her client and getting a lot of these talents over. The arrogance of a lot of these younger talents at AEW that make them think, that lead them to believe that they don't need a veteran presence at their ringside. A lot of them, they don't want people critiquing their matches. They don't want people giving them advice about, dude, slow down so people can enjoy the match. Don't dive out the ring. How about you look at the match before to make sure you don't structure your match the exact same way? These are things that's called psychology that is grossly missing in wrestling, especially in a world where it's becoming harder for companies to compete because you got a overabundance of new MMA companies popping up. You got PFL, you got Bellator, you got one fighting championship out in Indonesia, I believe it is. And of course, you got the Holy Grail, UFC, the biggest sports entertainment wrestling company at this point. Fighting company, because it's kind of sports entertainment. They have people come in and jumping people in line for title shots and stuff like that. So it's sports entertainment. Anybody at this point trying to deny that UFC didn't get a lot of their success from WWE, they're being dishonest, or WWF, because they were using pro wrestling invective, the 24 fights, keeping up with the fights, the top teams, all this stuff, getting to fights backstage at press conferences. That is all elements from professional wrestling. Anybody that's not saying that is being extremely dishonest. So with all these things said, wrestling has to be believable to keep up with UFC. Nobody's going to watch two little dudes in a fight, a fake-looking fight for no reason. That's not going to happen. Nobody enjoy. They're going to be offended and flick the TV off. You cannot present wrestling like they're trying to do a Walter and Imperium and say, this ring is sacred. Like, that's not going to work in 2023 when everybody in the world knows wrestling is fake, except probably people in Saudi Arabia, because they're 30 years behind on the times, because they're an insular focus. And maybe North Korea, these insular focused nations, they're the only people that probably aren't convinced or don't know that wrestling's stage is scripted. So they need to keep in mind, you have to have psychology. I'm not that surprised at a company like AEW, because when you're new, you're going to make mistakes. I'm not that surprised a company like AEW is making mistakes. However, for WWE to go backwards under the regime of the foolish Paul Levesque, aka Triple H and his regime, is absolutely baffling. Vince McMahon is known for a guy that's usually a savage businessman, but he's also a sucker with people he loves, because the fact that he still has Triple H ruining actively on a daily basis, ruining his company, is beyond hilarious. Triple H has ruined WWE financially in every single way. He set them back in every single metric. And if you're not seeing it, it's because you don't want to. It's all the evidence is there. All the numbers is there. How he killed the House Show Network. How he pretty much want wrestling to be sports entertainment. He got rid of the 24/7 title. How he has no emphasis on promos or filming things outside of the rings to get you excited for the fights. He has no basis of that. That's what Vince McMahon was. And we're going to bring on Mario in just a second. Triple H wants wrestling to go back 30 years. He wants wrestling to be in a tent in the Midwest somewhere. That's what he wants wrestling to be, because he's doing everything in his power to go backwards in wrestling. And it's more than enough. I don't want to hear this. Give him a chance. They've given him. A lot of people don't know that Triple H has been running WWE a lot longer than he hasn't. Vince McMahon started grooming Triple H to take over WWE back in like 2010. Go watch the 3 DVD set when WWE used to produce the 3 DVD set on the Superstars. Go watch Thy Kingdom Come. That's a 3 piece DVD set on Triple H. On that video, Vince was with Triple H showing him how to run WWE. He gave him NXT because Dusty used to run it successfully. Ask Kevin Owens, ask Bayley, ask Sasha Banks, ask Enzo Amore. All these people he gave confidence. Ask Baron Corbin. He gave these people the confidence because Dusty was the promo coach, and I'm bringing on Mario now. He used to show everybody the Hard Times promo. Hard Times is when you've been working a factory 30 years. They kick you in the butt and give you a gold watch and say, a computer took your job. That's Hard Times. That's the promo Dusty used to show everybody. What's up, Omar?
What's up, TJ?
We just started up hot before you got on here, talking about how WWE, well, we really started off with Vicky Guerrero, how I think she's being grossly misused by AEW, why Andrade's uncomfortable. Andrade has a WWE mentality. He only left WWE because Triple H wasn't getting his money. I think he prefers Triple H's booking style, which he's kind of a mark, but Andrade at least has a larger-than-life superstar look. He looked like he's in the cartel. Him being with Vicky Guerrero is going to be much better, but that's a duo that's designed for WWE. AEW,
speaking of Vicky Guerrero,
a mark that switches action figures around. He don't focus on talent. I'm sorry, what's that about Vicky Guerrero? You said?
I said, speaking of Vicky Guerrero, so tomorrow Dom fights Ray.
Yep.
And how cool would it be if Dom comes out with the lowrider and he comes out with an 80s 05 gangster lean theme? That'd be awesome.
Great. That'd be absolutely awesome. It'd definitely get him heat, because I think no matter who wins this match, I got a feeling they're going to have Rey Mysterio win and continue this feud. I think Dominic should win, but if they're going to continue the feud, you can get a first match to Rey Mysterio, and they can continue through the spring or maybe going up to the summer.
Yeah,
but I think
the reason why,
real quick, no matter who wins this match, Dominic has to come out as a heel. Maybe he could take Rey Mysterio's mask. They have to put some over his face to block it. That'll get him instant heat in LA. But go ahead, what you're about to say.
I agree. And the reason why I say don't have him come out like to the Viva La Raza is because that would get a huge pop.
It's gonna get a pop, right.
Yeah, because we haven't heard that. We haven't heard that song in what, like almost 20 years.
Yeah.
So and that's what most people know 84. Now you can either have him come out with the gangster lean theme, or you can have him come out with the Mamacita theme he had with China, because he is doing that he is kind of doing that with Rhea Ripley.
Right.
So you can go either way. To me, I would have him come out with the 05 heel theme, because that's the theme that 80 turned heel already on.
Right. Rey Mysterio.
Yeah. But if you have him come out with Viva La Raza, then you run the risk of him getting a huge pop.
Right.
Because we haven't heard the theme in years.
Right. You know what's funny about that? That would really work. It'd be really good. But I got a feeling WWE is going to SJW out and not want to do it for whatever reason. Oh, the fans are going to, because I honestly think these fans today will be triggered by the fact that he's paying homage to Eddie Guerrero. I think they'll be triggered by it. It's an excellent idea, though. It's an absolutely excellent, 100% excellent idea. I love the idea.
Honestly, I got it from a lot of the online. I don't think they'll be outraged, because a lot of them online were suggesting. That's where I got it from.
Really?
Yeah,
I wouldn't have thought they would have been suggesting it. You know what I mean? I never would have thought they would have suggested something.
Like guys like WrestleMania was even suggesting it. That's where I got it from. I just said have them come out with the 05 heel theme, because, like I said, if you have them come out with Viva La Raza, then he might get cheered over Ray.
Knowing WWE, they're not going to do either, but it'd be great if they did that. I don't think they'll do either, though. I don't think WWE's going to do either one of them. They probably going to have him come out to the lame-ass Retribution. Well, what's that group he's in? Judgment Day. He's going to come out with that, and that's going to be that. I'm hoping. I'll say this. If they do it, we know they listen to this podcast. Let's put it like that, because we were the people the day before the show that were talking about it. I'm quite surprised WrestleMania mentioned that, because WrestleMania is a mark. I don't know how much he's changed over the years. I don't know if he's seen the light, but he's a mark. I'm quite surprised, because I would have thought you would have got that from somebody from our community. You know what I mean? The Truthers or something like us, me, GWRP, somebody like that. I thought you would have got it from them. You know.
Well, WWE, I I kind of can see them going that route because WWE had like a video of Ray and Dom yesterday where they was like messing with Ray. They was throwing his merch around and they had him go up. And Dom went up to the lowrider. So I think they might do it tomorrow.
We'll see. Funny fun fact: if you play on the Raw with that had the black bold letters with the curved text, the 2005 Raw after you beat it on John Cena's showcase, it's a lowrider. Eddie Guerrero's lowrider is in that arena at the top of the ramp. I don't know if you ever noticed that, but it's there. The 05 Raw arena with the black bold letters with the slanted text.
Yeah.
That arena has Eddie Guerrero's lowrider on like a podium. If you walk up to the top, it's there. And I thought that was cool because I wrestled there last night when I was playing the game before I went to bed. I was playing, and I'm like, oh, shit, that's the Eddie Guerrero card. You can't interact with it. At least I haven't done it yet if you can. I tried it. Maybe I was on wrong angles or something, but I'll try it again when I play later or whatever. But, yeah, that's interesting. And speaking of Vicky Guerrero, because, we're going to go down the line and talk about all these great people, whoever else come up during the conversation that we have.
So what was you saying? Can you talk more about the Triple H, thing about him running WWE longer?
A lot of people don't know that Triple H has been running WWE since like 2011. When he got retired by Sheamus, which Sheamus is his boy, which is why Sheamus Bourne-Ness is getting a push right now for the Intercontinental title, along with Seth Rollins. You know who Triple H's boys are. A, he doesn't hide it because he's stupid enough to get in pictures with them online. Which he don't understand. Like, other people perceive that as favoritism. Why would you be taking pictures with certain people? Now, you're going to have a roster that think you pull favoritism when you do that. A, and B, he pushed the hell out of them whether they're good or not. So Sheamus retired Triple H full-time technically in 2011 before he started giving himself retirements every other year and before he constantly had a retirement match at WrestleMania for whatever, retiring for one match a year. Come on now. But anyway, he's been groomed to run WWE for about over 10 years. Because Vince was in his 3 DVD. Do you remember when they used to make those 3 DVD sets? You muted yourself too, Omar. Do you remember when they made those 3 DVD sets of wrestlers? Remember they have a John Cena DVD set, a Batista set, a Hulk Hogan set, a Piper. They used to have a 3 DVD set. The first one will be documentary of their career or whatever.
Like the Monday. Like the Monday Night Wars one.
Or no, they did a lot of them for just individual superstars too. It was a long time period in the early 2000s where they released 3 DVD sets on wrestlers. It'll be 3 DVDs, sometimes a little more, but usually 3. They had one on Edge, John Cena, Batista had one, Mysterio has one. A lot of wrestlers. Triple H got one. Triple H just came out in like 2013. But Thy Kingdom Come, Vince was grooming Triple H to take over WWE in 2011 because they got footage when he was there. They interviewed Brock Lesnar. They interviewed Batista. They interviewed Vince, Stephanie, everybody. Shane was in it, other people. Even Terry Taylor, who's new WWE from he was mainly in WCW and NWA, but
Shane was in it. I thought Shane wasn't in the company at the time.
No, Shane was around. He wasn't actively on TV, but he's an uncredited producer for WWE. He was involved with that whole thing with Raw Underground was Vince McMahon. I'm sorry, that was Shane McMahon and Vince Russo's idea. Vince Russo and Shane McMahon has always gotten along. Shane McMahon, and it shows you how foolish the other McMahons are, including Triple H and Stephanie. Vince Russo or Shane McMahon has been trying to get Vince Russo to come back to WWE for a long time, a very long time. It's been like every 3 or 4 years he'll pitch, hey, how about we get Vince Russo back? And they don't want him there because WWE has this idea that they would rather be right than admit they would rather ruin their business than admit that they're wrong about something. That's why they forced Jim Ross to retirement in 2013, even though he is head and shoulders at the time. He's fell off a little bit since then. He's the best commentator ever. Head and shoulders better than everybody. What's up, Vic?
And he's the best, and he's arguably the best recruiter that they ever had.
Yes.
I mean, look at the guys that they signed. I mean, he signed what? Cena, he signed Batista, he signed Brock, he signed Orton. I think
and that's just ruthless aggression people. Think about the successful Attitude Era people he signed. Jericho, Rock, Austin, Foley, Undertaker, Kane. He signed all of them. And Vince Russo, I think the 2 most successful people for the Attitude Era are 3. Vince McMahon, Russo, and Jim Ross. Because Jim Ross got the talent, Russo was the writer, and Vince McMahon had the money. They are the 3 most reasons why the Attitude Era kicked the hell out of WCW. And keep in mind, Ted Turner, I think, had more money than Vince McMahon. Ted Turner footed the bill for WCW.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Because he owned multiple cable networks. Ted Turner, if people don't know who he is, he's a big-time media conglomerate or mogul. He's the reason that CNN exists, that TBS, TNT, TBS and TNT stands for Turner Network Television and Turner Broadcasting. That is who Ted Turner is.
Let me put it like this. If you're an old Cartoon Network fan, then you can thank him.
All of that is under 10. Yep, that's all under the Turner Network. All of that, Viacom, everything is fall under the Turner Network. And he gave Bischoff pretty much a blank check and let him sign whoever. Just
which was retarded.
Exactly.
Which was retarded.
Just to show you how foolish or how crazy it was, Ted Turner, or Bischoff specifically, Eric Bischoff paid Big Boss Man a bonus if he didn't drink at the bar. What do you think Boss Man did? He didn't drink. And Eric even tried to send people over to try to entice him, hey, buy Boss Man a drink so I can renege on that deal. And apparently Eric Bischoff made this deal ironically while he was drunk, which makes total sense. He was giving people money. I heard the guys with Master P got paid like $500,000 for doing absolutely nothing. All he had to do was come out and say hootie hoo when they had that feud with the West Texas Redneck, which hilariously Kurt Hennig was part of that group. The rest of those dudes we barely knew. But
he was just giving people free money at this point.
Yeah, Master P got like $1 million. And don't get me wrong, Master P is a smart businessman, but all he did that was free promotion for No Limit Soldiers. That's all it was. Because the match was decent, but like, come on, you giving those dudes $500,000 for doing nothing. Or whatever. But Bischoff was a fool. Everybody tried to blame Russo's booking. Vince Russo still, with the absurd stuff that he was doing, like booking the world title in tag team matches, putting Judy Bagwell on forklifts and having tequila on the pole matches. People were still watching just out of absurdity. I liken Vince Russo's writing at that time to what Vince McMahon did with that God angle. Everybody knew it was crazy that Vince was wrestling God. Just the idea was absurd, but people still watched it. Like, it's better than, Johnny Gargano is fighting back from adversity this week. Daniel Bryan is fighting. Everybody is an underdog. That's what everybody's storyline is in modern wrestling. No matter how talented you are, this shows you how bad this shit is. Mustafa Ali was the leader of Retribution. That tells you everything you need to know. A talentless hack like Mustafa Ali, who has no gripe. That storyline was designed for CM Punk to be the leader because he has actual issues with WWE. That storyline would have came out much more believable, and I've said this 100 times, if CM Punk was the leader of that group. And maybe somebody else could have came in. I can't think of nobody off the top of my head. But CM Punk could have been a leader, maybe Ryback or something like that. Those people that got actual issues, because Ryback was suing WWE over his likeness and his name for like 8 years until like last year when he finally got it.
I got a question. Sorry to interrupt. Because I kind of knew that Triple H has been running it longer. I just want to know more details on it.
Well, the thing was, the company, Shane always wanted to kind of take over WWE because he always had Shane, to show you how smart Shane was, he was trying to get WWE to buy UFC back in like 2009 or whenever it got sold to Endeavor. Shane was trying to get Vince to buy it. Now, it would have been corny bullshit if they would have bought it. It probably would have looked like Raw Underground with a much better budget. That's all it probably would have been. It would have been sports entertainment, or like how Trilla do with the celebrity boxing fights. WWE likely would have turned it to something like that. However, it shows you that Shane McMahon is always thinking. He's always coming up with fresh ideas. Whereas fucking Triple H and Stephanie are only interested in agendas and killing the ratings on Raw and SmackDown. With all this women empowerment crap, all this Triple H flooding the roster with NXT UK wrestlers. Are you fucking kidding me? Nobody wants to see Bronson Reed on Raw. Nobody wants to see him on Raw.
I would say this, though. For everybody that complained during the PGR, I bet they wishing they would take. I bet they wishing they can get that over what we got to now.
Because I would take Natalya farting, walking around with Hornswoggle and Khalid in this shit now. Because at least that stuff was slightly entertaining. It wasn't great by any, but it was more entertaining when they was doing the Funkasaurus, the Funkadactyls character with Brodus Clay. I will take that shit over what we got now. Like it's ridiculous, dude. Like it's WrestleMania season. Let me look at the exact number because I haven't looked in a couple days. Let me see how many people are actually talking about WrestleMania right now. I bet it's less than 50,000 people. I'm almost certain. Only 420 people I've mentioned WrestleMania in the last hour. 420. Like, it's probably more people that watch my videos this week than that. Now, it's 2,000 people retweeted the graphic, which WrestleMania is also brought to you by Snickers and 2K. Pay me my money, y'all, because I just mentioned y'all. 2,200 people are talking about Austin Theory and John Cena. That might be the biggest one. No, actually, the bigger picture with everybody, the bigger one right now, brace yourself for this large, great number, people. 21.5 thousand people are talking about WrestleMania on a planet with 7 billion people. You have 21,000 people talking about WrestleMania. Apparently 3 million people saw it, but that means they just scrolled past the graphic. They probably saw, oh, shiny red ball and went past it. That was it. They had when the minute they saw Cody Rhodes and fuckers like, who else is on this graphic? When they saw Cody Rhodes in the forefront of the graphic with fucking Roman Reigns, they were turned off. Because John Cena is smaller in the graphic, and Rey Mysterio is too, than fucking Cody Rhodes. And I'm sorry for the people that's offended by cousin, but this is absolutely ridiculous. I've been a wrestling fan since I've been 7 years old. I've never seen wrestling so bad. And I've been involved in every single way. I've been in the ring. I've written for people. I know a lot of people. People follow me. I'm one of the most astute wrestling fans walking this planet right now that don't get a credit because SJWs and agendas. That's why I don't get put out there. But there's a lot more people that follow me than they tell you. I've written shit for people that don't tell you. I have friends that are not going to tell you I'm friends with them. Go look at my Twitter and you'll see. I'm friends with a lot. They inbox, give it a good work, but I don't want to be. So I talked to Russo a couple times. Russo just, bro, I like what you're doing, bro, but I have a brand to run. I've talked to Russo before on Patreon several times. He know I like him. He know I think he's good. I got a lot of friends that don't tell you that know me. But anyway, getting back on topic.
But yeah, the Triple H thing
for a very long time. This is the absolute worst time, and we thought wrestling was dying in 2020 when the pandemic. But they still had the 24/7, still entertaining. I was like, yep, this is it for it. Then 2021, I'm like, yep, this is the final nail. Triple H is. Then when Vince stepped down in 2022, I'm like, wrestling's dead. He's even back now, but you already know they're not going to, the board of directors are not going to allow Vince McMahon to be on TV. We know that. We need Vince McMahon coming out with the do-rag, firing Triple H publicly on TV for ruining this company for the last year. And coming out with the do-rag on instead of singing Birdman, what happened to that boy? That's what we need to see. Opening WrestleMania. What up, G? That's what we need to see. This bullshit that when Bronson Reed and Johnny Gargano is getting more airtime than JBL, you know something's wrong with wrestling. For anybody that's suspicious of why JBL quit wrestling, I could have told you he wasn't going to be around long. People like Brock Lesnar and Cena and The Rock, they don't want to work for Triple H because he's a fucking stupid asshole.
And this is, in my opinion, this all began in 2011.
Wrestling stuff. Everybody say Punk revitalized wrestling. He never moved the numbers. Don't get me wrong. The Punk stuff was entertaining for a little while. And to be fair to Punk, some of that was WWE's bad writing. Because the pipe bomb was something that was like Attitude Era stuff. And that's why so many people was clamoring, because that was the first thing we seen close to an Austin 316. Then I couldn't remember. That's why everybody, but it's still compared to stuff like what Piper did in the 80s, what The Rock has done for wrestling, John Cena's Mike skills. And don't get me wrong, it's been sprinkles of greatness. R-Truth's been great. Alexa Bliss been great. The Mandy Rose stuff in NXT's been great. The Usos revitalization of wrestling, them turning heel and stuff. It's been glimpses, the 24/7 title. They tried Raw Underground, the Hurt Business. It's been stuff that made you happy to be a wrestler, but that reminded you that little glimmer of light that wrestling can be cool again. But Triple H, I've been telling people, this dude is going to ruin wrestling, and everybody was telling me I was crazy. Boy, are you wrong. Go the perfect summation, so we can get back on topic of how Triple H ruined wrestling. Go look at that show when Bronson Reed didn't get no reaction at Raw. That right there is what Triple H want wrestling to be.
Well, the CM Punk stuff.
Yes, Jim Cornette. Well, go ahead, Omar.
The CM Punk, the people, that's a lot of revisionist history around that CM Punk stuff. Like, yeah, it was entertaining. I'm not going to lie, but it didn't bring any new numbers to wrestling.
No,
he got outdrew by John Cena and feuding with R-Truth.
Yep. And the problem is everybody was saying, "Oh, fuck The Rock. He ruined CM Punk. He ended his title right." They had to bring somebody in to get the numbers back. Who did you expect? Now, I would admit that WWE ruined Ryback. They dropped the ball. They had a future Goldberg-like star with Ryback. They ruined that. I will say that. Ryback.
I agree.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead. What you was about to say? Though.
What I was going to say before is that when you were talking about The Rock, I mean, they had Cena right there, but they didn't put the title on him. You know how stupid that is?
I think Cena needed to turn the heel at that point. I think people are a little tired of this babyface stuff. If they would have turned the heel and had somebody. Now, the problem is, and I get WWE's apprehension of turning. Oh, this is a snowstorm. Shut up. Y'all ruining my show. This is coming from my computer. Let me know it's a local storm. All right.
Okay, I agree on that part. I do agree on that part, but we all know that wasn't going to happen. But even then, though, Cena, even as a babyface, as champion, is going to get the numbers back up. Because
he is, but you got to have opponents ready for him. The
yeah,
problem with WWE is they had absolutely nobody ready for him. And if the people were there, I'm pretty sure if I could pull up the 2012, they were there. Like they ruined Wade Barrett. They ruined who else the fuck was a Ryback. They ruined Curtis Axel's push. He could have been something with Paul Heyman. They ruined. I'm sure if I dig a little bit, I could. But it was people that was still there. They could have got people from Impact. They could have got fucking Bobby Roode and built them up. They could have got Abyss. They could have got. We know it was a litany of people. Is the point? They could have tried to get Jeff Hardy or somebody to come back. The people were there. The problem was WWE wanted their bullshit to be on. That's why Sting didn't come in 2011. He was supposed to come fight Undertaker, but he was like, "I'm not dealing with this crap. I might as well stay in Impact." At least get a consistent check and have creative freedom because they paid Sting out the ass to be an Impact. I'm pretty sure he was the highest paid person there. Only probably close to second, probably like Jeff Hardy or Kurt Angle because Kurt Angle was there. Like they paid Sting. I'm pretty sure Sting was well over 6 figures in Impact. Unless he was crazy, he at least should have been asking for 6 figures. But
the way I see it is that 2011. I want to say 2011. I say 2013. SummerSlam 2013. In my opinion, was the beginning of the modern indie era, if you really want to think of it.
Sure.
Because CM Punk, he lost to Brock, so that furthered him, wanted to leave. And then, then you had the stuff with NXT around the time with, basically the people who's here now coming in. The Shield was gaining momentum.
Yeah.
Daniel Bryan beat Cena for the title, which in my opinion, was like the beginning of the end of the Cena era.
Sure.
Because think of it, before then, Cena never really lost to guys. Besides like Punk, he never lost to guys like Bryan. Yeah, you can say he lost to guys like Shawn, but Shawn was big. Like Shawn had more.
Michaels was a star.
Yeah, and he had more mass on him compared to like the likes of Punk and Bryan.
And even when he lost to Kevin Owens, he put Kevin Owens up. Well, that was a couple years later, but that was in 2015.
Yeah, because like when you really think of it, he lost to Bryan, and then he beat Del Rio, but then he lost to Orton consistently, which never really happened before. And then you get to 2014, he was not even in the main event for the first time since 05, because Batista was coming in, and then you had the stuff with Bryan. He was massively over with the Yes movement. So I consider that. Me and other people consider that the end of the Cena era, and then like the transition to what we have now.
Right, you can say that. I mean, I think they should have hatched a wagon to guys like around that time. If Roman Reigns was the tribal chief around that time, I think he would have been in much better shape right now. Like fast forward 7, 8, Roman Reigns would have been much more well. He probably would have been on his babyface run right now, whatever the case may be. It would have been a completely different Roman Reigns. But they chose to go the bullshit route. Randy Orton was boring around that time. John Cena should have been heel, but I get why WWE kept him babyface because he wasn't a good heel. And also, as much as I talk bad about Triple H, I always say he retired too early. Triple H, and then he came. It ain't like he didn't wrestle several more times after that. Triple H.
I wouldn't say John Cena's a bad heel. I wouldn't say he was a bad heel.
I don't think he would have been a bad heel. It's just they couldn't risk switching the top merch seller if they didn't have no heels to replace them with. Or babyface.
Yeah, you're right.
I ain't gonna say heel. I'm gonna say babyface. They didn't have a drawing base. Unless they was going to re-sign The Rock full-time, nobody was ready to take over those sales that John Cena had. Enzo wasn't there yet. Big Cass wasn't there yet. Who else was a top merch seller that was a babyface?
I got to disagree.
At the time.
I got to disagree because Bryan was really over at that time. He could have had
only with the marks. Only with the marks. Don't let people fool you.
You're right. Yeah, you're right.
The casuals didn't take him serious. The marks took him serious. But just to kind of round back to the top. Oh, Miz. Let's jump to Miz real quick, and then we'll circle back to Vicky Guerrero. Then when we get this way, we'll just skip Miz. Miz was a top guy at the time. I'm not even going to lie to you. It took me a while to warm up to the Miz. When he beat Randy Orton in 2020, I'm like, this feels so forced. Miz is a goofball. But boy, did he take the ball. He took the criticism and the critique, and Miz took the next 4 or 5 years to make himself a bona fide star. Yes, he's done goofy shit like they randomly made him dress like a bear for whatever fucking reason. I still don't know why they did that. But the Miz has always he's the epitome of a modern PG pro wrestler. He is a professional. He take the goofy, corny crap that they give him and he make it big. Alexa Bliss is another one. That's why she's on this thumbnail. The Miz was a guy. I would rather Miz beat John Cena at SummerSlam 13 than fucking Daniel Bryan. Don't get me wrong. Bryan Danielson is a hell of a performer, but not compared to the Miz, though. The Miz is over with HollyWood people too. I had an older guy at my gym. His name is Reggie. He works at he's a fitness attendant at my gym. He was one day I was watching SmackDown a couple years ago in the gym while I was working out, and he was like, "Is that the Miz?" He's like, "Is that Mike Mizanin?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's the Miz." And he was like, "Man, I remember that guy when he was on the Real World. He said I'm gonna make it to WWE. I didn't believe that guy, but look at this guy now. Even he knew who the Miz was." Because the Miz was pretending to be a wrestler back on the Real World.
Oh, the Real World.
And all in 02.
The Real World. The show that destroyed MTV, in my opinion. Well, that started the decline.
It depends on who they had on there. To me, the Real World was it was spotty. It had good ones and bad ones. Because I thought I was making of the band with the Diddy stuff. It depends on who was on it. Yeah, but you could say, like, to me, it shouldn't have been on MTV. That was something that was designed for like kind of like E Network or something like that. Reality shows should have been on E, not music TV. But but the music industry is also a reason why music got off MTV, because performers didn't want to have their music be on free TV. They wanted to get people to pay for them at concerts. So that was part of it too. But go ahead, what you're about to say.
Well, to be fair though, the MTV was kind of doing dumb stuff around the time, like showing spring breakers. Like, who wants to watch a group of rowdy spring breakers on TV?
Don't get me wrong, I don't dislike that. It's just not made for MTV. I don't dislike stuff like that, but it's just that should have been on E Network,
which I find hilarious. Like, I know this is a little side tangent. I find hilarious. No, I know you probably seen me tweet about this, but like, I find it hilarious how older generations want to criticize the younger generations for doing dumb stuff, which they are right, but they don't want to look at stuff like that. And Girls Gone Wild, you're hypocrites. I'm gonna continue to call that out.
And then old people with money have sex parties all the time. Man. All of those people that's been on Epstein Island and all that, like, and I don't mind us going on tangents because all this is related to entertainment. Wrestling is entertainment, but even though fucking Triple H regime don't think so, but it is. So yeah, I mean, those people need to go get out of it. I don't think it's enough of that on WWE. They need to take all that stuff from MTV and these reality TV shows and this drama and Snapchat beef. I remember a very brief time period where SmackDown was on Tuesdays around 2018, 2019, where the wrestlers were using their phones to cut promos and build up their matches on episodes of SmackDown. I remember that. That shit was cool. They had like the blue backgrounds. Rusev would be on that talking about, Bob Roode, I'm going to kill you, and all this stuff. It was good TV. Nakamura, Samoa Joe was screaming, I'm going to put you to sleep. You know, all this stuff. Like, it was good TV.
And but like, yeah, I like, that's my last subject on this, but I just find it, like, I know you probably see me, talk about it, like, because in my opinion, like, I think which I don't like, I'm saying.
Shout out to the 4 people that's here too.
I don't like either. I don't like the older generations. I don't like the younger generations. I think they're just all stupid. I think they're all brainwashed. I think they all just do dumb stuff. I don't think there's no good guy. But like, you see, like, the older guys, like the boomers, the Gen Xers talk about, these millennials and Gen Zers, they're so cringe, man. They always, they all, man, back in our days, like, shut up, man. It's like, we can see, we have the proof. There's stuff like, you want me, don't let me pull up Girls Gone Wild on you. I will expose you. You ain't the good guy you say you were. Just because the only difference is there's social media now. So the stupidity is more out there. Back in the day, you had to at least get on TV, which they did. The Girls Gone Wild stuff. It's hypocrites.
Yeah. I thought, you know what I mean? Yeah, that stuff was pretty good. Like I said, but I get what you're saying. It deserved to be on TV or whatever. Yeah, it doesn't deserve to be on TV. One second, I don't look too grown. So yeah, with Miz, I felt like the marks have been a large reason why WWE has been slowing down on this push. Oh, he's not good. He's just a corny Hollywood actor. Like, name a person at AEW that's not corny. And that don't stop Tony Khan from not putting them on TV. You got goofballs like goddamn, what's this asshole name that they're always talking? They got this dude with Action Andretti, this motherfucker. And the dude that was with Jericho, that beat Jericho for whatever reason. You got these clowns, QT Marshall, and you telling me they deserve to be on TV more than The Miz? Come on, man. Like, y'all got to be realistic about this shit. The Miz has worked hard. He took the bullying from JBL, Hardcore Holly, goddamn Benoit with the chicken and all. They made him change in the public locker rooms with the fucking public and trying to embarrass him, throwing his locker room bags in the hallway. He endured this shit to prove to people he's not some softy. He got his teeth knocked out by AJ Styles with that spinning Japanese back fist work rate shit. That shows you that the Miz is he nutted up, went after Maurice, who wasn't initially interested in him, his wife now, who he had multiple kids by, which he was smart about putting babies in her because that's good stock. But he endured all this bullshit to come out just for these ill-informed fat neckbeards that don't know shit about wrestling to crap on him all the time. The same people that wanted, and I don't think this guy was bad for his size, that wanted Marco Stunt on TV. The same people that want boring-ass Jungle Boy on TV. And all these other clowns that AEW got that want Bobby Fish, who's always hurt, he's worthless. You can't make any money with this dude. And y'all want to hate the Miz, a legitimate star who's got shows with NBC like Cannonball. He's always on Dancing with the Star. This guy is a great ambassador for WWE. But you marks don't get it because all you care about is work rate and Meltzer and it's a revolution, guys. This bull crap.
Yo, TJ.
Yo.
One of these days, I just got me right. One of these days, we need to do it. We should do like a non-live stream on that, non-wrestling live stream on that, because I just want to call out hypocrites, man.
I'm down for doing that, whatever. That could be like I have something on my podcast. I don't know why. You probably wasn't around when we were really doing it heavy. We only do this periodically. It's a podcast I have called Mansplaining. I would love to talk about exactly what you're talking about on my Mansplaining podcast.
It's just annoying. Like I'm not defending, my people my age. I'm just saying, no, don't come down on the younger generations when you did a lot of the same stuff, really. Like, yeah, they wasn't as bad, but you was up there. The only difference is there wasn't no social media. I'm not a dummy. You can't fool me. I'll call you out on it. But
right.
Aside that, I just want to talk about that one day.
No, it's all good. I mean, one day soon, we definitely can do that when the time is right, because we're going to talk about that Trump stuff, because I got some issues with all these people that's being what they call witch hunt with this shit with Trump, and I got mixed opinions, and I want to talk about that. Plus Omari, maybe sometime this week coming up. I'm off on Monday, but that's a wrestling day.
Hey,
maybe Tuesday when I get off work.
I got some opinions on the whole Trump stuff too, and I got some opinions on conservatives too.
Right.
I don't like conservatives. I don't like Republicans. I don't like Democrats. I don't like liberals. Right. I guess
we're gonna say that, but we'll say that for this show coming up, because I don't want to get too much off tangent and lose the people that we got here or whatever. But with Miz, I still think it's a lot with Miz that you still can do. Miz right now should be, as a matter of fact, now that I'm fucking thinking about it, even though this is Miz's boy and his friend, I would rather Miz, a babyface Miz, which doesn't happen very often. I would rather a babyface Miz, because he's a great heel, so he can't really be babyface most of the time. I would rather a babyface Miz be going for the titles against Roman Reigns. He's a lot more credible, especially considering the timeline of WrestleMania. It's called WrestleMania Goes HollyWood. Who's more HollyWood than The Miz? It makes total sense for The Miz to be going for this shit right now. I will much rather Miz be going for this title than fucking Cody Rhodes. Miz will walk laps around Mr. I'm going for the gray area. Mr. It's passion. Cody Rhodes tried to make promos out of nothing. Like, dude, you had shitty matches with people like Daniel Garcia. Why should I take you serious? Who is the last credible person? Seth Rollins don't count either. Who is the last credible person that Seth Rollins actually beat? I'm sorry, not Seth Rollins, Cody Rhodes. Who's the last credible person? Why should I believe he could beat Roman Reigns all of a sudden? These are things that people do not ascertain nor analyze when they say, I want this person to be champion. My follow-up question to them is always, and then what? You hot shot and put them in the main event, and then what? You have to justify why anybody, this applies to any wrestler, why they're getting a title shot. If you cannot answer it like coherently with a storyline that you could build up with like a year, or they beat this person or beat that person, stop saying these people deserve to get title shots. Every single person I have on this graphic, along with other people, I can justify why they should be champion or why they should get a heavy push on WWE. Every single one. I can even throw a sprinkle a few AEW people in, of just a few. But is it safe to say, do you agree that The Miz has been misused by WWE, Omar?
I'll say, I'll say they used them to the best of their abilities, but I think they could have done a little bit more.
That's true. Okay, now let's did you say everything you want to say about Vicky Guerrero?
Yes, I did. I was gonna go my boy Waller.
Waller. Go ahead with Grayson Waller. Then I'll talk about Maurice. Go ahead.
Grayson Waller, man. Who this man? This man is a stud right here. He is one of my favorites now. Even though I really don't watch it, but he is one of my favorites. When I see clips of him, this man, it makes me. It just gives me off like wrestling that I grew up on. I grew up on late Roots Aggression. PJRL grew up on watching older wrestling, and he just gives me those vibes, man. Like just him being a troll. I remember
he's good. Yeah.
My favorite moment from him was when he was feuding with Braun a couple months ago, and I guess like Braun was in the what's it called, the PC, and he was training, and Waller just went in there trying was starting stuff, and he threw like the water bottle at Braun. That was my favorite moment from him.
He's a very smart performer. And also, I remember when he had the restraining order, like the outside the ring stuff that WWE refuses to continue to promote. I don't understand why everything has to be, especially with these. Why does Impact camera quality looks better than WWE? That is absolutely oxymoronic and stupid. It is no way a consistently dying company like Impact Wrestling should have better camera quality than WWE.
Yeah, WWE money.
And I understand Anthem Network owns them, which is a TV network, so they got all that stuff. But the point is WWE should have a better standards and a better reputation. Y'all getting money, stupid money. Over 10 years, y'all getting $4.5 million from the United Arab Emirates. Impact is barely getting $1,000 from a network. They probably get more than that, but still, like they not touching the type of network deals WWE is getting. So, and I heard this full Triple H talking about he got the sanity storyline from Impact. Why are you even aspiring to be in the same breath as Impact? Impact is a Bush League shitty company. Why would you want to be anything like Impact Wrestling?
I understand them taking stuff from TNA wrestling, from back
right, the old school stuff. But Impact, current Impact, give me a break. And then Steve Macklin, a former Marine, is allowing women to beat him in intergender matches. This is why these marks need to not have jobs. For this exact reason, this is why they don't deserve to have jobs, because
we can talk about that in a little bit. I want to talk about my boy Waller. This is my boy. He is. This man is awesome. What really won me over with Waller is when he was feuding with Braun at Vengeance Day, and I think I sent you this when he came out with those chicks. That won me over. That won me over 100%. I think this is why I said I will start a new D-Generation X, because like what's the point of D-Generation X being stable nowadays with the older guys? Like nobody wants to see old Shawn Michaels, old Road Dogg them come out, in their 60s telling people to suck it like it's 1998. Nobody wants to see that.
Right.
Just reboot the stable. Just do it right. Just reboot the stable with young guys. That's all you got to do.
I honestly think they too egotistical to do that. Shawn Michaels and Triple H aren't going to do that. More specifically, it's a great idea, but I don't think they're going to do it. And I honestly think I'm fearful for the progress of Grayson Waller, because I honestly think he's one bad day of making Triple H upset from getting buried. Because we already know Triple H buries people. That look at Indy Hartwell for a long time. I think she must have got overconfident. I'm going to bring her down a peg, which in wrestling, you're supposed to be confident. Your
True,
business
I don't think he'll be
selling
buried
yourself.
Vince. I don't think he'll be buried because Vince is officially back. He's an employee now. He's back.
I don't know, man. It depends on what day of the week it is with Vince, because sometimes he let Triple H and Stephanie bitch him sometimes, man.
True, but I think Vince is probably going to be a little. He's going to be a little bit more old school Vince now because the whole allegation.
I hope so.
And
I really hope so.
And plus, when you really think of it, he was one of the ones that pushed for like Waller to become what he is, because it was him, Nick Khan, and Pritchard that started 2.0. So I think Vince, when it comes to guys like Braun and Waller and like Hayes, I don't think I think Vince, especially Braun, I don't think Vince is gonna let Triple H mess that up. Especially Braun. I think Vince man is gonna be over Triple H's. He's essentially gonna be Roman Reigns. How he was for Roman, that he's gonna do that to Braun. He's gonna make sure that Braun is pushed.
Man, I really hope you're right.
Because Vince McMahon, and especially like Nick Khan, and then they're not like, especially like USA Network.
Yeah,
they're gonna be over like they'll let Triple H get his stuff in, but they'll draw the line. Like when he's trying to make when he's trying to make Adam Cole top guy, like the face of the company. That's when Vince McMahon would draw the line. Like Braun, guys like Breaker, he's gonna make sure that he gets the rocket to him.
Right.
That's why
I hope you're right, man. All I can do is really hope you're right, dude. Like,
I hope I'm
I
right.
don't think it's gonna happen, man.
I don't know about that because I know Vince. I know Vince. I know how he is. You know, he ain't gonna. He's gonna be over Triple H head. He might let Triple H get away with most of the stuff, but he's not gonna. But he's gonna make sure Triple H puts the rocket on guys like Braun.
Hopefully.
Waller could be Mets. Waller is more Mets. Depends if, but like guys, something like Braun Breaker, I don't think Vince McMahon is gonna.
Let's put with Waller. Let's put it like this. We'll know if Waller's going to be damaged by Money in the Bank. If Waller does not win that Money in the Bank, he's done. Because if you're going to have the Money in the Bank in London, which I think is a horrible idea, first of all, at this point, Money in the Bank is a Big 5 pay-per-view. They've moved that. It's been a Big 5 pay-per-view since it's been a pay-per-view. That's one of the ones that you can see major story developments is be surprises. Sometimes a part-timer will have a one-off match. It's a Big 5. It has been a Big 5 pay-per-view for quite a while. It's lost a bit of its steam towards the tail end of the 2010s, but for a long time, it was a Big 5 pay-per-view. With that said, WWE were foolish enough to put one of their Big 5 pay-per-views in London, which is a completely different time zone. Most of your pay-per-view viewership is going to come from the United States. Even with Peacock, people are not waking up going to be at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Saturday watching wrestling. They probably out running fucking errands. Because the pay-per-view is probably likely going to be on at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Well, see,
it has to be one of the most foolish things WWE's done lately.
And plus, they're appealing to young people, like kids. Kids either gonna be asleep or teenagers is gonna be out. You know,
doing stuff with their friends. They're not going to be watching wrestling at 3. Wrestling shows should come on at 7, 8 o'clock at night when people are winding down. They probably been outside already, or if they're going out for the night, they not going out yet. They're not going to go out till like 11 or 12 o'clock probably.
Yeah.
So, you cannot have pay-per-views at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. That is an absolutely stupid business model.
Yeah, which I don't even know any teenager that's watching wrestling nowadays. I could be wrong, but I don't think
not many of them. Unless the only teenagers I would go on a limb to say that's watching wrestling are probably SJWs. The SJW people that follow whatever the media tell them, they probably watching wrestling. Normal teenagers that's into like basketball, football, UFC, they not watching wrestling. I can guarantee you.
Teenagers tuning in is when someone like John Cena or Stone Cold Steve Austin comes back, you know,
right?
Stars,
or like Cena, like because a lot of them might not know Austin, they might know who John Cena is. They definitely know who Cena is, or Batista, because they've been in the movies that them kids watch, what they call popcorn movies, like them Fast and Furious movies and stuff like that. They've seen it.
Then they grew up on Cena, on guys like Cena and Batista. I would say they probably do know Austin just because their parents or their cousins.
If they told them, yeah, sure. If they actually told them, I would go on a limb and say that they might know who they are.
Plus,
I agree.
when they was watching wrestling, Stone Cold Steve Austin will always come back and they'll always talk about the Attitude Era. So I think they do know Austin.
Right.
But
they could be. They could know who they are. Let's switch. Let's get back on topic here.
Yeah.
Maurice, you talking about one of the hottest valets. Do you know, fun fact, in 2009, she was the highest paid woman in WWE. Did you know that?
No, I did not.
At the time when she wanted to leave, they wanted to sign her to a 5-year highest contract agreement. At the time, she said, no, it's too much of a commitment. I want to start a modeling. I want to start a fashion line. But they knew the value of Maurice even back then. And that's why Miz, I think that was before she married Miz, but her and Miz were talking at the time. What's that?
Just real quick. Last thing I got to say on Waller is that I can see where you're coming from, like Triple H and Shawn, the whole D-Generation S thing. Like they might feel threatened, like somebody like Waller right outshine them.
You're gonna ruin my legacy. Yeah, that's gonna be Triple H. Yeah.
But I think it would be cool though if it did happen. Because
of course.
Like I said, just it doesn't make sense to have them coming. They're in their 60s and they're still telling people to suck it and stuff. Like just reboot the group. Just put young guys in it. Put like Waller, in my opinion, will be the Shawn of the group. You can bring Enzo back. You can be the Road Dogg of the group. Somebody like Theory could be the Triple H of the group. I don't know who you have be that. I don't know who would be the S-Pac or the Billy Gunn of the group. I don't know who would fill that role, but you can.
There's people out there.
Sammy Guevara.
Like I said, I will put Enzo, More, and Big Cass and Carmella. Those will be the people that I'll round off with because all three of them are charismatic. And
I know that a lot of people look at me, Sammy Guevara and D-Generation S. Think of it though. Think of how he acts backstage. That's kind of similar to how Shawn was in the 90s. If you put that on TV, that's gonna go over well.
Look at look when you think of it though, he stole take Conte from when he broke up with his wife.
Talking about Sammy Guevara?
Yeah, Sammy Guevara. He what then he stole take Conte
From whoever she was dating, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, and he cheated on his wife with her.
Right. But Sammy Guevara, I don't think they're gonna let him leave AEW no time soon. That's not gonna happen.
You're right.
He's not leaving AEW no time soon.
In a perfect world, because when you really think of it, doesn't that sound like something Shawn Michaels?
And another issue with that is Triple H probably won't like him because Sammy Guevara is a confident person. Triple H don't like confident people unless he so happen to be friends with them. He likes Seth Rollins, who's confident, even though Seth Rollins sucked. But you could tell Seth Rollins is confident in himself. But if Triple H does not approve of you, you cannot be confident. I honestly think Sammy Guevara, even though you make a good point, like I said, these are all good ideas, but I know how people like Triple H think.
Yeah,
Sammy Guevara probably going to hire heat with Triple H.
Because when you really think of it, Sammy Guevara, when you really think of it, like him, he stole he cheated on his wife as Tay Conte. He must stole her from someone. Isn't that something Shawn would have did in like 97?
Yes.
That's something Shawn would have did in 97. Actually, he did. He stole Sonny from Chris Candido. He did.
But WWE don't want you to remember all of that shit. They don't want you to remember that. They want you to think Shawn Michaels is this cookie cutter Christian term, man. He's still a politician. I'm pretty sure he still does shit now. It's just to get covered up. He still do little shit. They just don't mention it. Yeah. But yeah, they don't want you to remember all that. They want Triple H and Shawn Michaels does. He's just too loyal to Triple H. I think if Shawn Michaels was under like the influence of like a Paul Heyman directly or like a Vince Russo or Vince McMahon, NXT will be so much better. You know, Shawn Michaels has a good eye for talent because he built Toxic Attraction. One thing we can say about Shawn Michaels, he knows how to sign attractive women. Look at it. The NXT has the most attractive WWE female roster. Look at those girls. Most of the ugly women are on the main roster. And they're getting heavily pushed. Look at Damage Control. When you got a show being run by Damage Control, none of them, let's forget their beauty for a second, because I understand the argument of women shouldn't have to be cute, it should be about their talent. Okay, that's partially true. Let's go with that. They suck at that too, with the exception of Io Shirai. The rest of them suck. Dakota Kai doing those fake-looking kicks, like, come on. Dakota Kai is all right. Don't get me wrong. She has a little bit of hunger, but she's not as good as people say that WWE's trying to make her sing. Io Shirai, who does not speak a lick of an English promo, has no business being heavily featured like she. And don't get me started on Bayley. She sucks in every way. She's offensive to look at, listen to, all that. She's just terrible. What were you about to say?
Oh, I was going to talk about Triple H. You probably know this, but if you don't, I'm gonna let you know, because we all know what he tried to do to The Rock in the late 90s.
He tried to bury him.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't know this, but Triple H tried to bury John Cena back in 2002.
Yep. 0302, something like that. Yeah.
Because I already knew Vince didn't like him, but I heard stories about like how Triple H,
Triple H was threatened by everybody with muscles. Rene Dupree, when you get a chance, I don't know if you already listened to it. You have to listen to Rene Dupree's podcast. He has the most unfiltered, entertaining, and sometimes RVD and Paul London get on there with him too. And other people like Maven's been on there. People he's cool with. Some guys from the Spirit Squad. He's had cool people. Stevie Richards. Cool ass people get on there sometimes.
I think he buried Cena.
I want to say he kind of did. But he told a story of how Triple H don't like nobody with muscles. He said one day he needed a mirror to comb his mustache. Renee was talking about himself. He needed a mirror to comb his mustache. And he said the Triple H was taking up the mirror, ogling over himself, flexing. And Rene Dupree stood next to him, and he looked kind of big in the Triple H. He said Triple H got mad and threw a hissy fit and walked off. He never, and ironically, I never thought about this till Renee said this on this podcast. He said, have you ever noticed that I've never been in the same segment with Triple H while I was in WWE? They never been in the same segment with each other. Triple H would cut people's legs off that he didn't like. He would even convince WWE backstage to make the wrestlers with the long hair, like Val Venus and Stevie Richards and what was his name? Simon Dean, who cut their hair. He made them cut their hair off because he was insecure to how they looked. Especially Val Venus.
When you speaking of that, it's like every time that he went against like someone like he was trying to bury, I'm going back to the Cena stuff, because like Cause like I heard, cause like I remember I saw that, cause I know Vince for the longest time wasn't too high on him at first, but then I saw Triple H. I was like Triple H. And I was like, yeah, Triple H. Cena's a young stud. He has the looks. He's muscular. Triple H part. He threatened that Cena would take his spot, which he did. But
Right.
even in 2006, which in my opinion, I think Triple H purposely got Cena booed on purpose, because that was around the time that the boo birds were starting to come in, right? But it wasn't as bad. I think Triple H purposely played into the smarts at the time to get Cena more boos, because Cena was saying stuff like how Cena couldn't wrestle. You remember that stuff? Like back in
a little bit, yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, I personally think Triple H got him booed on purpose.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't put him. I mean, we saw what he did to Chris Masters. He was jealous of Chris Masters. Anybody, like I told you, it always comes back to muscles. If you have muscles and you look bigger than Triple H, he will try to get you buried. And it helped. Huh? When Chris Masters got released in 2000, I want to say 9-ish, and he came back in 2011, he was a little small. Because I guess he got off the juice, and Triple H made a joke that he was small, and Stevie Richards was pissed. He was like, I would have smacked the hell out of Triple H for making like such an insensitive joke like that. So Stevie Richards always disliked Triple H. That was one of the people. Huh?
He buried his own boy Randy Orton, which Randy Orton didn't help. That he was such a he was such a prick backstage. But that was BS. Randy Orton was, a lot of people, especially younger fans, because like the thing that Randy Orton, the fans completely turned on Orton when he turned face. That's a lie. Randy Orton's actually still over in 04, in early 05, to be honest, as a face. I think Triple H personally played, so he was
probably,
because
I wouldn't be surprised.
Orton held the title for a month.
What's up, Grandma Daisy?
And then it went back to Triple H.
And they tried to say it was because of numbers, but Triple H numbers were low as well. Like his numbers were not. Triple H has never been a draw. Jim Cornette said it the best. Triple H is the guy that works with the guy that's over. That's the best way you can explain Triple H.
Yeah, because then he worked with Austin and Rock.
Foley, Undertaker, all the top guys. He worked with them.
Then in the mid to late 2000s, he worked with Cena. He worked with
Jeff Hardy, Edge.
Yeah.
He worked with all the top dudes, and he held a lot of people. It's just so many stories. We can go on and on, and I have mentioned in the past how bad
of Edge, Triple H was. Sorry to cut you off, but speaking of Edge, I know Triple H had to be jealous of Edge back in 06 because
with the long hair and stuff. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was. And then he had Lita. Yeah, I'm sure he was. Edge was just always politically intelligent, and he generally kept himself away from Triple H. Yeah, just like Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho kept himself away from Triple H too.
Mm-hmm. And Edge was drawing. And Edge, his feud with Cena in early 06, I think.
Yeah, it was.
That was the highest ratings.
And that's why they cut his legs from under him. I'm sure matter of fact, DX was trying to bury Rated RKO. Rated RKO was supposed to look a lot better in that feud. And even Edge talked about this on his podcast. Triple H and Shawn Michaels buried them to the office. Like, oh yeah, these dudes not ready. Even with the glow sticks, Jericho would tell stories about how DX didn't like that Jericho instructed the crowd to throw glow sticks at them because he said that took away from their pop. So Jericho always talked about that. Yeah, DX always been assholes, dude. Like even with John Cena when they went to Mexico, when Rey Mysterio was the World Heavyweight Champion, they went to Mexico on a tour, and Rey Mysterio and Chavo didn't even main event the building. It was John Cena and JR against like Swagger and like fucking Michael Cole. It was some stupid bullshit. You talking about a pure slap in the face to the Mexican audience. It was absolutely stupid.
It was. Like, speaking of that Triple H Edge stuff, that made me mad. Like looking back, it's like because it should have been Cena and Edge at 22, not Cena and Triple H. And I understand that like having Cena go over Triple H would establish more, but you could have did that later. Cena and Edge, better story, and that's why I'm saying that helped. That got Cena booed more because he was getting cheered again during the Edge stuff because everybody Edge. And then they ended it abruptly just to go to the Triple H stuff. And then that got more booed because Triple H was playing in with the smarts. And people can say it all they want, but that was like Triple H. I think Triple H was trying to bury him. You can't tell me otherwise.
Of course he was. But we'll stop at the Triple H thing here because I don't want to turn this into Triple H only show.
We got to do it.
Trust me, it'll be plenty more episodes in the future we'll talk about Triple H because I'm sure he's going to continue to ruin wrestling. Let's get to somebody he tried to ruin, and she's too talented, and she's even spoke out on Twitter when fans have asked her a question about why she's being used. She said, that's a good question. You got to ask WWE. They tried to bury her with that Lily Doll character, but what they failed to realize, Alexa Bliss actually knows how to act. So that was a blessing in disguise because she frankly responded to a fan like, why is Alexa Bliss not being pushed? And she responded and said, because I'm not one of the 4 horsewomen. Can you imagine the heat she got for saying that? Because her character completely changed. She went from a regular Alexa Bliss with the pink tips to a doll Alexa Bliss. And they tried to bury her with that, and she got that shit. She was more over than Bray Wyatt was. Fat, crying Bray Wyatt, who came back out of shape, which is what a lot of the fans think WWE buried. No, Bray Wyatt buried himself by not being a professional. He came back overweight. He had a public dispute that he drugged WWE in the middle of because his wife was suing WWE for Bray Wyatt's money. I forgot why she sued WWE, but it's out there online if you want to read it. And WWE got drug in the middle of a lawsuit, and they were pissed. They was like, dude, keep your shit clean. We won't want nothing to do with this because he had a public affair with JoJo the Ringer. Now, who's hot, don't get me wrong, but he cheated on his wife publicly that he was with for a while to date JoJo. Got her pregnant, and that's when the whole thing – that's why Bray Wyatt's character's push has always been inconsistent because his boneheaded mistakes he's made outside the ring.
I think now
WWE bury him. No, he's been in his own way. That's what messed him up.
I will throw Bray Wyatt a bone. They did have guys like Cena, Orton,
the first Bray Wyatt with the rocking chair before he started messing up. Yes. Yeah, every Bray Wyatt after that was his own fault.
Yeah, I agree. 100%. Like rocking chair Bray Wyatt, that was their fault. He should have beat Cena.
He should have beat Cena clean. Yeah.
Yeah, he shouldn't have had to feud with Taker. He shouldn't have had to feud with Orton.
If he had to feud with Taker, because I like the idea of him feuding because it's a supernatural character thing, he shouldn't have lost to Undertaker. Because to me, that seemed like WWE, we made a mistake by having him lose to Brock the prior year, so let's get Undertaker his win back. You should have did that with somebody else that wasn't Bray Wyatt. Having Bray Wyatt be the sacrificial lamb in that storyline was a stupid idea by WWE. It was absolutely stupid.
Yeah, exactly. You could have had Taker, well, honestly, I don't know because around that time, that's when the roster was kind of starting to get depleted with any talent. So right. I don't know what you could have did. I mean, you could have. You already did Triple H. You could have did Sting. No, well, actually, never mind. They would have.
I would have been okay with Sting.
True, but they would have Taker.
Taker would have beat him though. Yeah.
And I didn't want to Sting. I don't want. Well, if it's against Taker, then I don't think Sting would have mind losing.
Right. At this point, honestly. With Sting, not to cut you off, the thing with Sting is they still can even do this now. Sting and Undertaker should have been a cinematic match where even if Undertaker beat him, it's not really like in the ring. It don't feel official. They should have had like a cinematic match against each other.
Yeah, speaking of Sting, man. Whose idea was it to have him face Triple H at 30 WrestleMania?
Probably Triple H. It's a safe bet that it was probably Triple H's idea.
And then they tried to do the stupid DS versus NWO stuff, which made no sense because why?
Especially with Shawn Michaels being in the NWO.
Yeah, and not even that. It's for anybody who watched during the Monday Night Wars will say, why is Sting in the NWO teaming up? Yeah, you can say. I know people say, well, Sting was in the Wolfpack. That's not.
It's not the same.
Yeah, it's black and white NWO, and they are mortal enemies with each other. Why are they on makes no sense.
Because the Wolfpack was more like baby faces. They was like babyface NWO.
Yeah.
Like the cool baby faces. Yeah, it's just like the things that this company has done to ruin people's credibility, which I don't understand. Like some people argue that, it's Vince showing that he can make another character and show the character's got range. That's what TWRP said. I completely disagree with them, respectfully. But it's just like, to me, you hire people to do what they're going to do. When you go to a Michael Jackson concert, you expect to hear Michael Jackson's hits. You go to New Edition, Lil Wayne, any of these acts, any of these female acts, Nicki Minaj, you go in there to see the artist. Stop trying to switch these people away from what got them famous in the first place.
Yeah,
when you get another star from another company, you use them for what they're good at. That's how you build them up. Stop trying to change everything for WWE's cleanliness and all that bullshit.
Exactly. Even then with Sting is that even if you didn't want to have him do the Crow character, you could have had him do the Surface Sting character. Yeah, I know he was older by that point,
But you could have still had them do that. You could have had some good dream matches with the server stuff. I mean, Server Sting versus Brock Lesnar, Server Sting versus John Cena, Randy Orton versus Server Sting. Come on, you don't like.
He could have been a lot more pushed than he was. I agree with you.
Yeah,
Let's get back on Alexa Bliss here.
Sting
is a good talker too, but he's not mid-card. Sting is the main eventer, so he don't fit this topic.
Yeah, we really got to do a Triple H rant video.
At this point, like, I've done a lot of them. I don't know about a Triple H rant. We can include him in a WWE's dumb decisions, and he could be a large part of that. Because I talk about Triple H so much, I don't know if people would be interested in just a singular Triple H rant video. And then Triple H, knowing him, he'll try to flag it or whatever. So we could just add him over to general what has killed WWE over the last 10 years. Because I was planning on doing that post WrestleMania. So on Monday, if WrestleMania is awful, which I expect it to be, I mean awful as far as box office, like if it don't get any type of traction or positive reception from the critics and casuals, I'm burying the shit out of it on Monday. That's the deal right there. I'm burying the shit out of WWE on Monday. We lost. He might have got a phone call or something. We lost Omari for a second. But let's talk about Alexa Bliss. Alexa Bliss is such an undervalued talent. She can act. She can talk. She's beautiful. So many guys. Think about the amount of guys, not to get girls, that kind of like, do what themselves, touch themselves to Alexa Bliss. It's so much you could do with her because she has such an appealing look. Alexa Bliss. She's gotten over all that. She's a big Disney fan, so she can do all this supernatural Dexter Loomis stuff and all of that, which I always said, like, the mark nerds, because they want wrestling to be taken serious. It's a sport. No, it's not. Never has been. Never should be perceived as a sport. They want it to be all serious and all that crap. I think it's a place still for cinematic matches in WWE. A, it protects your performers where people don't always get hurt. And B, it shakes up the monotony of pro wrestling where everything has to be in the ring. How many wrestling shows do you want to see constantly in the ring? How that shits get old after a while. Don't y'all get tired of that crap?
Yes, I massively get tired of that. I want them to bring back the WCW, which honestly, I don't know why they don't do it, especially for SummerSlam. Well, honestly,
like outside events, like Bash at the Beach and shit like that.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I would take that back. I'd rather WWE, get better first and actually like go after, the young audience like they did during the Attitude Era. Try to do a boom period where you get where you get the teenagers and young adults going to the crowds again. Because I don't want to see like the old school, like back in the day, especially during the NWO days where they had the pools at the ringside.
Yeah.
I don't want to see that. Yeah, I don't want to see that with the fat neckbeards. I want to see them like try to go after the young. I want to see like the young audience, like kind of how they were in the Attitude Era come back and get interested in the product.
Well, the first thing they got to do is get Triple H out of there. That's never going to happen with Triple H in charge. Never. Because he's only catering to the internet. Look at Triple H as a mixture of Dave Meltzer and Tony Khan with a business suit. That's all he is. He's a roided up Tony Khan. He's a mark just like Tony Khan. He's a roided up Meltzer too, just with a suit. He's a mark. This 5-star crap. This having this partnership with Japan, but they have a partnership with Japan and they don't use the top stars, which is absolutely foolish. If you're going to do that, at least have people like Brian Breaker, because his uncle and father were famous in Japan. Have Roman Reigns go over there. Have these top stars, Goldberg. They need to have the top people go over there if they wanted to get traction from like the big time newspapers and news outlets. Nobody care about goddamn Finn Balor and all those dudes. Like, they're not big enough stars. David thing looks serious, but he do it every once a year. Like, he's barely the Demon. That's like Undertaker being Undertaker once a week. If Finn Balor is going to be the Demon character, you have to be that character every single time, or at least switch between the characters like Mick Foley when it relates to the storyline. Don't be the goddamn Demon once a year and expect people to care about you. So that's another.
Or at least do the gimmick like for a long period of time, like Taker. Like, there was a period of time where he did the American Badass for like about 4 years. Right. Just do it if you want to do it like that. But back to the spring break stuff. It's like, yeah, I agree. Get Triple H out of there, but like when if you like say like in a perfect world, WWE has a boom period again, right? The teenagers and the young audience starts watching wrestling again. They need to bring back the spring break episodes, especially for like SummerSlam. Have pools at the ringside. I don't think WCW did this. Like, obviously have security, so like there's no like stuff don't happen, but like allow like the
the crowd to come and like get in the water and chant.
There's a big storm passing my house right now, but go ahead.
And like it just makes sense because spring break, either you do it at SummerSlam or you do it in the spring. If you're catering to the teenagers and the college audience, it would be better if you do it in spring because they're on spring break, especially in places like Daytona Beach.
Yeah,
they could do something with Bike Week, like you have like a bunch of bikers.
Right.
Honestly, I don't know why they didn't. Speaking of, I don't understand. I don't know why they didn't do this during the Attitude Era. That would have been perfect since they had the college audience. They were really popular with the college audience around the time. You would have think they would have just, and like especially in '99, you would have think they would have did a spring break dream show, but they didn't. That's stupid. They should have did that. That was a missed opportunity. They need to do that. Get young college audience because I don't want to see that show with a bunch of fat neck bears. That's not. Right. I don't want to see that. Now I do want to see some hot 20-year-old college girls at these shows. Yeah, I get. Yeah, the Barts. No, they're gonna.
And this would be a perfect time to have Braun Panties come back. Like you gotta have like Braun Panties matches or like a pay-per-view. If you're gonna have a women's themed pay-per-view, it gotta be like where women are doing like hot stuff across. You can have the serious matches, but the fact that Evolution didn't have like Braun Panties matches is why A, they never did a second one, and B, they that arena was not sold out. They had to probably comp a lot of tickets, tarp off certain parts. And keep in mind, this was in Nassau Coliseum, which only holds, I think, about 7,000 or 8,000 people. It was probably only about 2,000 actual people that paid to be there. And a lot of them were probably comped. Because what the problem is, women's wrestling is not polished enough for people to perceive it as serious. It's botchy and amateur looking. Nobody's going to take that shit serious. And that's to pay more truth to power with what you were talking about as far as this pool party and all this stuff. You have to have hot women there. Well, we don't want to see Damage Control and all them having goofy ding dong hello segments, and they'll probably do goofy shit like that because they're awful at what they do. And Triple H is so afraid of his wife. He's not a true man. He's not a true boss. Anybody that allows their wife to make executive decisions about stuff that Triple H is supposed to be doing is a cuck. I'm sorry. Like, he's an embarrassing excuse for a man. Like,
this is what I mean.
The reason for all this shit.
This is what I mean about them not following pop culture. Why? Like, yes, the Marks is gonna get mad, but who cares? Like, why OnlyFans is popular right now, especially with young men. Right. Like porn is really popular. Why can't you put that on TV?
Right. But the problem they have to WWE, and it's going to take time because you have to completely unprogram the audience from the stuff that they've been seeing. WWE has, out of the last like 5-7 years, have conditioned the audience to be cuck SJWs to complain about everything. So a lot of this stuff not going to be well received, but the crybaby marks, they're going to eventually start weeding out. The problem with WWE is they don't know how to stand their ground. One person complain, one person put a retweet out, they become scared and they get cold feet and got to bow to these people, even if they only got like 10 followers on Twitter. That one person that complained about the go-go dancers being in the cages on Raw Underground and in cuck-ass Lance Storm and that ugly woman Medusa Maselli was complaining about it, and they had to completely go to reverse on that. So the problem with WWE is they don't know how to stand their ground. Like, they get pressured by these SJW fake virtue signalers online. That's what the problem is.
You are right, because I think that's going to be coming real soon, because if you look at these corporations is laying off a lot of people because they
get tired of losing money.
Yeah, well, also too, and plus we're in the government is not going to admit it, but we are in a recession, a massive recession. The banks know it's failing, so the tide is turning. So I've told people like for people that don't have hope in wrestling, I have a little bit of hope that it might get popular again because of what's happening in the course right now. I think. Because, like, look at corporations right now. They're starting to realize that they messed up. They're, like, look at Disney. And I'm not lying. Look at Disney, all of that. They're laying off lots of people right now. And plus, there's a lot of nostalgia. Like, 80s, 90s nostalgia is high right now. And wrestling was big during those decades. So I think it slowly will get better. And they're starting to see glimpses of that right now with the Bloodline stuff and the Dom stuff. It's going to take a process. Like the Attitude Era, we didn't get the Attitude Era overnight. That, like, I've told this people many times. Like, say you were a fan in like 1993 or 1994, right?
would you can like no one would have in 1994 would have saw that in like 3 years. We would have had Rock, we had Austin, we had D-Generation S, we would have had the NWO, we would have had Sting. Wrestling would be like the coolest thing on planet Earth, will be the coolest thing in the culture.
Right.
I think that's why I have a little bit of hope for that, because I think it can and it will happen. I think it's just got to give it time. I think you got to look at what corporations doing, because look what's happening right now. Superhero movies are failing. The SJW comic movies are failing. Stuff like John Wick, Top Gun Maverick, those has been the biggest movies in probably like the last 5 years.
Right.
So things like the SJW stuff is kind of going like, yeah, it's still there. It's still there. It's still mainstream. I think it's on its way out. And I think that's when WWE is going to have to respond. Similar to how they had to respond in the late 90s, because they were still pushing the cartoony, out of date world in the late 90s. And then they had to adapt to, Springer and all that in the late 90s. I feel like we're kind of in that right now. Right. So I think it will eventually happen.
Right.
I think
I agree.
I think more people on our side needs to give it more time. I think that's the problem with people on our side. They're kind of like they're not kind of impatient. They don't, and I'm not saying, and they have a reason to be. I agree, but it's like you got to give that time. It's like I said, you couldn't. Like I said, imagine being a wrestling fan in '94, and wrestling is like one of the most nerdy things in the planet. And then you get to 99 and wrestling is the coolest thing on earth. Everybody's a wrestling fan. D-Generation S, Austin 316. That's reason that right there is why I'm still a wrestling fan, because I feel, because of what, in like 4 years we never know, like the Braun Breaker could be like the biggest man in culture.
But 4 years for a lot of people that's been watching wrestling a long time, that's in their 30s, dude. That's a long time, man.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I don't want to see what wrestling is going to look like in 4 years. On the track that is on now, if it stay on this track now, you're right. It could change. The problem is WWE has to want to change. Like, people can make a demand, scream, shout, all that type of stuff. If WWE, who's the final say so, does not want to change this, they're not going to change.
I think they will be forced to change, because you just got to look at culture. Look at what's happening with all these Hollywood studios. Well, not even just Hollywood studios, just tech companies in general. There's a lot of layoffs going on right now. They're laying off a lot of people, and look at Twitter. Elon Musk fired all the woke people. Now it's the website still sucks, but he fired all the people who was causing trouble, who's pushing all the SJW stuff. So they're going to be forced to change by stuff like that. When they start,
Twitter's going to get better. I would say get that time too. It's going to get better. It's already starting to look better now.
So look at and plus HollyWood, I think they're on their way to course correcting. They still have their SJW stuff, but they're firing a lot of people because, like I said, we are in a massive recession. The banks failed. A lot of things is happening right now. So WWE, even if they don't want to change, they're going to have to be forced. They're going to be forced, just like how they were in the 90s, whether it was Ted Turner breathing down their necks or just culture. That's going to happen again, and that's going to be coming real soon. People don't see it, but you just got to look what's happening around the world.
All we could do is hope. I mean, people and this is another thing why I encourage wrestlers to go to HollyWood or at least seek endeavors outside of WWE. Do not be that person who get mental health issues, that want to off yourself, who want to take your life because wrestling burns you out. Look at the amount of wrestlers. Sarah Lee, for example, dying at 30 years old at an undisclosed. Well, the family chose not to disclose when she died last year. That's absolutely insane that a 30-year-old dies. And I'm sure a lot of it had to do with the stress and mental health from the wrestling business. She had daughters. She had a husband who her husband is Wes. Well, what's his name? Wesley. He was in WWE for a while. Well, his name was Wes something. That's what wrestling do to people. Look what it did to Ashley Massaro.
Look what it did to Benoit, and that could have killed the business.
China. Look what it did to China.
Yep. China.
This is what wrestling do to you when all you have is wrestling. You have to realize your worth your star power, your ability. And I think after a while, Alexa Bliss gonna be like, you know what? I'm done with this because of December 14th. 2022 was a wake-up call for a lot of performers in WWE. What happened on that exact day? That was the day that Mandy Rose was unjustifiably, that's arguable. She was foolishly released by WWE. They could have found a productive storyline or corporate way to spin that. They chose to be cowards. I understand the thing with Mattel, but they should have said, you know what, Mattel, how about we make an adult line Mandy Rose action figures and we target that towards adults or teenagers? That's what they should have. That's the way they could have handled that in a more positive way.
Speaking
I
of,
think they wimped out with the way they did it. So
speaking of, who are
what's that?
Speaking of that, who are UFC sponsors? Because WWE should, if whoever is the
I
sponsor
think
for
energy
UFC,
drinks, Reebok, different places.
so essentially the people who were there, and so essentially the sponsors for like that Roots Aggression era and Attitude Era, right?
They been gone.
So WWE, because I also heard that the reason why they pushed this this SJW woke product is because of the sponsors.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, why don't you go to the UFC sponsors? And this is another reason
They
why
have to shift their product to adults before they can do that.
This is another reason why I say that when people say, "Oh, the wrestlers can't be the Attitude Era no more," because, culture is too woke, and I kind of agree, but it's like also at the same time, it's like that you have stuff like South Park, porn. There's stuff like porn, UFC. Dave Chappelle. Yeah, Dave Chappelle Netflix is still on Netflix, and that's because those things make money. If you make money, you're not going to be affected. And here's another thing: is even though WWE is getting the lowest ratings it ever had for Raw, it is still the top show on USA Network.
Yeah,
it's still making a lot of money for a lot of advertised money.
Surprisingly, they some type of way making a lot of money. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think so. UFC was going to not UFC, but USA I feel would be cool. Fox probably not, but even then, if Fox drops SmackDown, they can just put SmackDown back in.
I doubt they ever drop SmackDown. I think NBC is more cucky than Fox is, because Fox is a conservative network. Don't get me wrong; they still got cuck stuff over there, but it's not as bad as NBC though. It's not nearly as bad as NBC. Because look out! Speaking of which, I need to watch Bel Air, and they had an episode of Bel Air. Do you watch the new Bel Air show?
Nope. I still tell the classic 90s Fresh Prince of Bel Air that everybody knows and loves.
The first season was great. The second season is spotty so far. It came on Thursday. I haven't watched it. I'm gonna watch it in a minute when I eat. But
I just don't like how they changed it.
Me off.
I just don't like how they changed it. It's because they made it more drama like, and that's not what Fresh. And I know, like, you gotta change it up. But it's like I don't like that. Like
if you look at it with just fresh eyes that it's his own show, you're gonna enjoy the first season. Let's just put it like that. I agree with you, but the problem is they gave them the same names and stuff like that. I would be a lot more offended if Will Smith wasn't associated with it, but the fact that Will Smith co-signed it makes me like it a lot more, because a lot of this is his vision. Even the voice actors, like a lot of them sounds like the characters from the old show. And I'm pretty sure that was intentional, but I'm sure that was intentional by Will Smith. So,
yeah, true. Yeah, but I just don't like how it became more drama. Like I think they should have kept it like how the old series was.
I think the idea was to focus on how Will grew up in rough Philadelphia. That's what they was.
Yeah, I think they should have just rebooted the show, but like how Will become the Uncle Phil show, where they all the kids in the show, they all parents now. They all have their own kids now, and like you could have had Will become like the Uncle Phil. He could have become the next generation Uncle Phil, because sadly we can't bring Uncle Phil back because he's sadly no longer with us. So you could have had Will become that. It's kind of like in Boys Meets World, right? You seen the you know.
I've heard about it. I didn't see the new one though, but I know what you're talking about.
So it was the new one,
like Fuller House or whatever, yeah, where they got kids and all that stuff, yeah.
Yeah, so the newer show called Girls Meets World, it's a spinoff of Boys Meets World. It was on Disney Channel. I actually like that show.
Corey's daughter, right?
Yeah, based off Corey's daughter, and Corey essentially became Mr. Feeney, which makes sense because Mr. Feeney was always in his life. That was his mentor. So Corey became that for the next generation of kids, his daughter and her friends.
Right.
That makes sense. That's what they should have did in the Fresh Prince. I would have liked that idea more. I understand what you're coming from, and I can see that, but I feel they should have went that route where like they essentially it's 20 something. They're all parents now. Might in like Hillary's case, she might be a grandma now. Because knowing her, and like they all and ain't I don't know if ain't the people who played Aunt Viv are still alive. You could have had her still lurking around.
She was on a new show. Some of them came back. Ashley and the light skinned Aunt Viv, they came back to the new show.
Yeah,
they've been on there.
Yeah, so you could have had Aunt Viv still lurking around there every now and then. And then Will essentially becomes the new Uncle Phil. That's what you could have did, because it made sense because Uncle Phil, is basically taught him a lot of that stuff. So now Will gets to be that for a next generation of kids.
Sure.
Similar how I was just saying, like in the Girls Me World spinoff, Corey essentially took what he learned from Mr. Feeney, and he's doing the same. And now he's doing the same thing for a next generation of kids.
Sure. And I'm sure it's a section of the Boy Meets World audience, probably the males or traditionalists that was like, oh, they got a female character that's not going to like it regardless. But I like the way you just presented it. If it's presented in that way, I'll check it out. I like your adaptation of the show. But just to wrap it up with the Midcard thing or whatever.
We getting all attention.
Is great. I think she's very. But going back to that thing about knowing your worth, you might have to pull a Mandy Rose and get out of WWE. Because if they're going to go with this NXT UK route, this, this these boring females, damage control, these talentless females that are work rate machines, the Alexa Bliss is not going to make it. The talkers like the Eva Marie's, because I think the heat got to her and she wanted to quit WWE. Eva Marie,
I got a question.
Coming back as that caring character that Chelsea Green was doing will be perfect to piss off the crowd. What's your question?
So So what do you think they're gonna do with so do you think Tiffany Stratton? I wonder what they're gonna do with like Tiffany Stratton and Cora Jade when they come to the main roster.
It's the same that applies to the male people we talked about earlier. It just matters how good their relationship is with Triple H. That's all it comes down to. It don't matter how talented they are. If they upset the wrong person, they're gonna get buried. That's what all it comes down to.
Because they have to move on from Charlotte and Becky. It's time. It's
not likely gonna happen now, because if Cena got pushed for 15 years, what makes you think they're not gonna push Charlotte for 15 years?
Well, you right, but
if they have a reason to push them that long, they will. If they can keep Ronda Rousey for 10 years, Ronda Rousey's gonna have that belt off and on.
You right. Well, I would say more like 8. I would say more like 8 to 10 years for Cena, because he essentially became a mid-carder in 2015 or like 2015.
That's still a long time for modern wrestling. 8 years is a long time for modern wrestling.
People
barely get pushed more than 2 or 3 years, let alone 8.
You're right, but that's different. Yeah, you're right. But I feel like though, like
I like Tiffany Stratton to answer your question though. I actually really like her. She's got the best moonsault currently in wrestling. Definitely better than all the females.
But even then with Cena, it's like, he was still getting pushed, but they still push other people like Punk, Styles, they still push other people. Now, granted, not as much, but they still push other people. Who are they done that with Charlotte and Becky? No, essentially no one.
Other than Liv Morgan, nobody. Just
at least during with guys like Cena and Roman, there's been people who at least became stars that still start. It's time.
I think people gonna look back that Liv has had a good run. Carmella, she's been a staple, and probably Rhea Ripley. Them are gonna be the only 3. Oh, Bianca Belair too. Those 4.
Which I find funny that Marks was shitting on Roman for years. So, oh my gosh, Vince is pushing Roman down everybody's throats. While the 4 Horsemen is literally that on steroids. There's
4 horsewomen, just to be clear, not the male.
You're right.
Female.
That's what I meant. They literally have been pushed way more than Roman has ever had. That's a fact. Charlotte.
That's all part of the agenda of them wanting to have a feminist angle in WWE. That you notice, ask yourself this: why has all the male Royal Rumbles lately been worse than the females? You don't think that's by design?
Yeah, it is by design.
All of them have been the last 2 or 3, really since the women have started, they've put special emphasis on the women. But after 2018, all of the female Royal Rumbles have either been more enjoyable or vastly better than the male matches. All of them. And that is because of Stephanie McMahon. If people think Stephanie McMahon stepping down in January when Vince came back was legitimate, you're lying to yourself. She stepped down off TV, but she still call in and figure out what's going on. She's the female Vince McMahon. She's controlling in every way that he is. Do not think she isn't.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know she still call in and get the scoop of what's going on.
I tell Marks this all the time, is that this is not the best time to be a women's wrestling fan. If you want, like, the Ruthless Aggression era, in my opinion, was the peak of women's wrestling. It was better than the Attitude era, and it was better than the Curtain era because while the Attitude era, like, I agree, they focus too much on the sex appeal, which in my opinion matters more because more people, it's a male-oriented sport. But I can understand where they're coming from. But the Ruthless Aggression era and the TNA knockouts from back in the day had the perfect blend. You had the hot wrestlers, and you also had, your work rate. That it was a perfect, nice blend to it. On Raw, like I said before, you had, Candice Michelle, you had Lita, you had Trish. Eventually, you had Tori Wilson come over there. You had Christy Hemme. I mean, who else? Stacey Keibler, Jazz, Ivory, SmackDown, Tori Wilson. Ashley Mazzaro, Maria Kanellis. I can go on. It was a Gail Kim. It was a good blend. You had the best of both worlds. That's why it worked.
And a lot of those people you just mentioned were great mid-card promos too. A lot.
Mm-hmm.
Jazz, Victoria was solid. Trish, they had a lot of them came from that era. Yeah, they were good. It was a lot of them that were good. I just named. Stephanie was even okay on the microphone. I like Stephanie as a character. I hate her as an executive. Hate is a strong word. I don't like her style of executive producer.
I agree.
Yeah.
TNA knockouts. Look, TNA knockouts.
A lot of them, beautiful people. Yeah, good promos. Madison Rain, good promo.
Madison Rain. Mm-hmm.
Who else is a female? That was a solid promo. Some of them from like when early TNA, when like Francine would show up, she'll get the crowd hot, or like Trinity would get the crowd hot. It's been females that's been able to do that.
Mickey James for both. You had
Mickey James. She's pretty solid. Yeah, she's a good soundbite promo person. And before we forget about it, I just rattle off some AEW people so it can be balanced that fit this bill that are good. Jade Cargill, MJF, obviously. Jay Lethal, Samoa Joe. I also double him as WWE because he had a decent run in WWE like 4 or 5 years.
And you have Tay Conti and a Jay. Yeah. Tony Khan is an idiot. Yeah, he is such
not a smart man.
You think he should capitalize more on the Tay Conti, Sammy Guevara stuff because they was getting heat because of the whole cheating stuff. Right. You should have had her be a bitch.
They should have turned that into a storyline. Yeah.
That should have been their version of Edge and Lita from back in their day.
Absolutely. I'm glad you said it. And a lot of people your age don't remember that, but I'm glad you said it. I'm glad you said that.
Because that's how Edge became a main event heel in the first place. Sure. A lot of people think it started with the Cena feud, which it kind of did. Like the Cena feud and the stuff with Foley just cemented him.
It started with Kane. The Edge thing started with Kane and Matt Hardy. When Matt Hardy was injured and then Kane was marrying Lita, it started around like late 04.
Late 04. The Foley stuff and the feud with Cena
took it to another level. That stuff took it to another level. Yeah.
The stuff with Lita is what it started with Kane, but it went to full gear with the Matt Hardy stuff.
Absolutely, 100%. That was one of the last real hot. Piper always said it best, and people like Bobby the Brain Heenan, who a lot of these people inspired me to be just how I am, even now as a talker, even pissing the fans off now, being logical and being a good antagonist to this world where everybody's a fake virtual signaler. They said it best. Feuds are always better when they're personal and they're real. Even Jim Ross said this. And Jim Ross kind of flip-flops sometimes. He's kind of a corporate shield at times, but he was even honest enough to say storylines are always better when they're real. And for whatever reason,
or when they feel real.
Or feel real. Tony Khan, for whatever reason, doesn't want to believe this. But we're going to have another one of these tomorrow. It's going to be late tomorrow because I get off work. It might be Sunday. I'm not going to lie. Tomorrow I might come home and go to sleep.
Hey, you want to just do Sunday? I get off at 11 too.
I get off at 11 tomorrow.
We get off at the same time.
Yeah. So tomorrow we'll do it Sunday. Sunday when I get off at 5 on Sunday. We'll do it on Sunday. We'll do it on Monday too. We're going to wrap it up. Last but not least, definitely. Dummy will be dummies if we didn't do them. L.A., and I hate the name, Eli Drake. That's his name. Because L.A. Knight is a stupid name. I've said it a couple times. WWE with L.A. Knight Why would you spell it Knight? If you're gonna go, because he's supposed to, you could tell with his theme song, he's supposed to be like a party promoter type, and cocky jock heel, but you spell his name like medieval times. WWE did not thoroughly think this character out. His name should have been LA Knight as an Nite. Or if you would have to put 2 I's or whatever the case so it don't get copyrighted. This dumb crap that y'all gave him doesn't flow. It's really dumb. And
LA Knight, man,
he made Bray Wyatt look like a bitch doing that pitch black feud stuff. He carried that. And the fact that he's not being rewarded with something like even an Intercontinental title match would have been even though that belt don't mean nothing, it would have been a thank you, LA Knight, for carrying this terrible program.
Yo, LA Knight.
Go ahead.
LA Knight is the only guy on the roster that could beat guys like The Rock or Cena in a night battle.
Keep up with him at the very least.
Yeah.
At least keep up with them. He's head and shoulder, and ironically, as a couple dudes Impact, he's good. Bobby Roode's good. Abyss, if they actually used him, is good. AJ Styles isn't bad. He's a decent promo.
I know we said this the other day. I know we said this like the other stream, but they should have, honestly, they could have just had LA Knight being the Theory role because Theory is not ready. Theory absolutely cut him up on the mic. He made him look like a kid on the mic.
I wouldn't say he's not ready, but if you gonna put Theory against Cena, LA Knight should have went against like who else? Probably, not Roman Reigns. That don't quite fit because they both heels. He should have went against the problem is WWE don't. He should have went against like Goldberg. I would have LA Knight go against Goldberg. Call him an old man and all that type of stuff. He should have went against like a Goldberg.
Well, I wouldn't say Theory is not completely ready, but he's not ready to be like go toe to toe on the mic with someone like Cena.
As far as that, LA Knight would have been a better choice to go against Cena. As far
this is like Billy Gunn from back in the day. You're trying to put him up against The Rock, knowing that The Rock is going to cut him up like a piece of cheese.
Now, I think Austin Theory is much better on the mic than Billy Gunn, but I get your point though. Yeah, that's a really, really excellent point. But we cannot argue that LA Knight has been terribly used. Look at all the stuff this man has been on the road everywhere for 17 years. He's just not making it to WWE 2 years ago. That is absolute blasphemous. I remember when he was in Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, I knew he was going to be great, which was a great little small indie market in San Diego, in that market out there in California. But
let's talk about how good he is. He's getting like the he's getting that over.
And then his chance, dummy. Everybody know, like even people that just met him now are quoting this stuff. Even the people that didn't see nothing he did prior to WWE are quote because he has quotable. He's a good, cool dude. Like, and to me, I think he needs to dress a little more like The Rock in a way where he wears nice stuff. I know he's trying to have his own thing, but sometimes he's kind of got like that thrown together. Like, I'm sure the clothes are pricey that he's wearing, but it doesn't really come off as like a main event star type outfit.
Kind of like Karrion Kross.
Like Karrion Kross looks like the devil's advocate. Like he looks, his clothes match what they're trying to convey with his character. What are you saying about have LA Knight come out with what?
How would come out like in the $500 Versace shirts that The Rock used to come out with in the late 90s.
And the pants, like, and he can even wear jeans, just make sure they name brand. You know,
then you can have The Rock come back.
The weird vest and all that. It doesn't quite fit. It makes him kind of goofy a little bit.
Speaking of The Rock, I'm surprised that he never, like, out of all the times he came back, like every time he's come back, he's never brought back the Versace shirts. I think if he comes back again, he needs to wear the $500 shirt just one last time. I think because it may I think that would get like a lot of because he hasn't wore one in like 20 years. That would bring a lot of nostalgia back, especially for people who grew up in the late 90s.
Sure. I don't know if he's going for the I'm too old thing or whatever. Maybe that's what he's going for, but
he wore it in a movie. He wore it in a movie. He wore it in Pain Again. I think it was Pain Again. It was like it was the same exact one he wore during the Corporation. I was sending you the picture of it, but he wore one in a movie. I think it was Pain Again. He won the 500. He won one. I don't understand why he can't wear it again. And plus the fans are not going to care about that. They just want to see The Rock. Like they just want to see old school Rock again.
I don't know if these fans want to. Maybe the casuals might. These fans now probably don't want to see The Rock. But LA Knight, he even says he was heavily. LA Knight even admits that he was heavily inspired by The Rock. Austin, Hogan, Flair, but he said more Rock than the other ones. Rock and Austin. And everybody's inspired by somebody, so I don't think that's a critique or a dig at him.
Yeah, he seems like he seems like The Rock, like Austin. Like it's like he seems like a mix of both. I don't know. It's like a weird mix of both. I don't understand. It's kind of weird.
He got the confidence of The Rock, but he got the talking and cadence of Stone Cold. That's how I look at it, at least. But yeah, like LA Knight needs to be used more often. Now, these last minute or so, WWE gonna give y'all some advice how y'all not gonna care because WrestleMania is gonna suck. Night one looks like a good card, but I'm not watching it live. I'll be at work.
So I got a
not
question
watching
for
it
you.
live.
I got a
What's
question for you. Do you think the reason why we haven't got an LA Knight and Roman Reigns promo or like segment is because they're afraid LA Knight will like completely embarrass Roman?
I'm sure that's one part of it. The other part is they both heels. So from a
You're right.
storyline standpoint, you really can't do it.
So
But
like, let's say
WWE
LA Knight was a face, right, and he was feuding with Roman. Do you think they're too scared that LA Knight would just completely bury
Yeah.
him on the mic?
that he's not a WWE creation. So they're not admitting that LA Knight is good. Once again, it goes back to nobody in WWE that's an executive like to admit that they're wrong or somebody has a better idea than them. That's why they fired Jim Ross. That's why they didn't do nothing with Sting. They don't want to admit that. That's why they ruined the NWO when they came back in 2002. They don't want to admit that other people had better ideas than them. That's all it comes down to. That's why Samoa Joe wasn't used properly. That's why LA Knight's not being used properly. That's why Karrion Kross is now being used to his full potential. They don't want to admit that they're wrong. That's all.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised they used AJ Styles right.
I am too, but it helps that him and Undertaker are good friends. Undertaker vouched a lot for him because AJ Styles and Undertaker wife go to church with each other. Why do you think Why do you think? I'm sorry, not LA Knight. AJ Styles. Why do you think AJ Styles was Undertaker's last official opponent? They're friends in real life. That's why. Because it didn't make no sense from a storyline standpoint for them to wrestle.
And you are right about that. And plus, he had a feud with somebody. He had like three. Who was he? He had to feud with someone in 2016.
Who are you talking about?
I'm talking about Styles. He feuded with somebody in the summer 2016. I can't think of it right now. At Summer, he had a match with them at SummerSlam.
I don't remember. They could have been a big main event person, whoever it was. It had to be like a Midcard because his first top program was against Cena, and that wasn't until 2016. No, AJ Styles wasn't in WWE in 2015. He came in January of 2016. He wasn't there yet. He came in the Royal Rumble in 2016.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. He was feuding with. Yeah, he was.
His first feud was with Cena with Roman Reigns. It was with Roman Reigns.
Yeah, it was Roman Reigns. Right. So yeah, that also helped. So that also helped them too because that part helped them too. That's what I was thinking of. But even then, I'm still surprised because AJ Styles, it's one. That's probably one of the reasons why we never seen a main event Mafia reunion in WWE because let's be honest,
they're not going to ever use that because it wasn't their idea. You're never going to see the main event.
Yeah, because they could have did it by now because they've had Angle, they Booker T, they had Samoa Joe, they had Nash,
Sting is there.
Yeah, they could have did it, but they're
not going to ever do that.
Yeah.
That was not their idea, and it was kind of a cool idea for what it was. They're not going to do that because it wasn't their idea. That's never going to happen. But WWE, y'all have to. WrestleMania is going to suck. Y'all have to use these people that y'all got right now on the show to try to reboost this. Rebuild your new talent. What's her name? Indy Hartwell needs to go to the main roster. Lash Legend needs to go to the main roster.
I think
Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams need to go. Brian Baker, I'll give it a little more time because the main event picture is too crowded. And with a guy off the NXT title run like him, you cannot have him do nothing lame. It'll kill his momentum. Let him stay down there for a while.
I think Carmelo is gonna beat Brian, and they're gonna beat Brian.
My fear with Carmelo Hayes is they're gonna break him and Trick Williams up, and they're a unit. You can't break them up. But I got a feeling that's what they're gonna do.
You're right.
They're going to try to make Carmelo Hayes serious, and he's going to get buried. That's what they're going to try to do. They're going to try to make him a main event competitor.
That's why I think they're going to have Carmelo beat Braun for the title because I can see them doing Carmelo versus Trick for the NFC title. I think they're going to break Braun up. I wouldn't be surprised if you tune in to Raw after WrestleMania, Braun comes up.
I don't think they should. That'll be the end of his career if they do that.
I mean,
the main event picture's too crowded. They're not gonna let him beat Cody Rhodes. It's not gonna happen. Not no time soon.
I think they should build him up first. I think they should build him up like in the mid card first. Like give him because he needs a gimmick. They need to give him a. That's the one thing against Brian. He doesn't have.
Unless you have him go destroy. No, I don't think he needs a gimmick. He's fine the way he is. Unless you have him go destroy Gunther. I don't see him. The title pictures are too crowded. The United States title got Cena. That could be a one-off, but it could be a couple pay-per-views as well. It depends on how long they got Cena signed for. Then he's not gonna go against the Roman Reigns. because Cody's in the thing right now. That's probably going to be a couple-month program. So the only space that you have is him against Gunther. And I'm okay with that. If he crushed Gunther and take that title and have a long run on SmackDown, which SmackDown is the perfect place for Brian Breaker because it's a sports type presentation because it's on Fox, which is a sports network. Raw is more for people like LA Knight, like the personality driven people. The Grayson Wallers and Miz and people like that. That's who the SmackDown.
I don't know. I gotta disagree. I don't know about nowadays. Maybe, yeah, it was.
Well, now no, it's not. But they still kind of got that. But Raw is. I'm sorry, SmackDown has still got like the sports center. That's why Ronda Rousey and people like that are over there. It got that sports feel to it. The real fighting. Because it's on Fox. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not always solid like that because they got the biggest storyline, which is the Bloodline, which is the soap opera storyline on SmackDown. So it's not all cookie cutter. I would just rather Braun. I think he fits better on SmackDown.
You're right.
And he already wears like a lot of blue, so it already goes to SmackDown look. I think LA Knight needs to be traded to Raw. He needs.
I'm scared. What I'm scared of with Brian is that if they do that, if they debut him as a face, he's gonna get booed by the marks. I do not want that. If they do that.
I honestly think it shouldn't matter. They should. Once again, that goes to WWE. They need to put their foot down. At some point, if you want to get the crowd back, you have to put your foot down. They're going to complain. It's always going to be a segment of the crowd that complain no matter what you do. I would say they just got to put their foot because they don't want to see. Now, some of the marks a little bit like Breaker, but I think they will turn on them though.
True,
but he can't be a heel. There's too many heels. He can't be a heel right now.
True, but I just don't want another Roman Reigns 2015 situation where they completely.
My thing is, I don't want to see him on the main roster yet. Period. It's too soon. I don't want to see him yet. Maybe in 2024. Not right now because it's too crowded. He's gonna get lost in the shuffle. It's way too crowded. Yeah. They can barely do stuff with the people they got there now. Like they not even now. The crazy thing about it, he could fit in the U.S. title picture now because they missing Matt Riddle, but Cena, he not gonna beat John Cena. Brian Breaker is not beating John Cena no time soon. Even though he's the guy I will book to beat John Cena, either book retired. Yeah, he should retire John Cena. Brian Breaker should be the guy that do it. I don't even care if it's as a heel. He needs to retire John Cena because I'm tired of these older guys coming back and not putting the younger guys over. That is completely contradictory. You have to put the young guys over. You have to, or whatever. But LA Knight.
True, but I think somebody like Cena at least needs to win because he hasn't won a match in like 6 years.
No, he don't need to win. John Cena's name is enough as it is. He don't need to beat Austin.
You're right. Yeah, you're right.
He does not need to beat Austin Theory. That's a waste of a match. Unless this is going to be a multi-program thing and they want to get Cena the first victory, which I don't really like that either. I think it's kind of too predictable to always get a big star to first win. I think Austin Theory needs to walk out with this title. Simple as that. I want to see Grayson Waller soon too.
Yeah. The only way I can see Cena winning at Mania is to pop the crowd. That's the only way.
But then again, I mean, they got him in a crowd that people. This year's WrestleMania is the most confusing WrestleMania, and what I mean by that is, they got casual stuff on there, but it's the least amount of people talking about the Wrestle. It's probably less people talking about WrestleMania now than it was last year. And WrestleMania last year sucked too. But people was excited to see what Stone Cold was going to do, and they should have knew it was going to be something with him and Vince. So it was way more to look forward to. This year was built around The Rock. The Rock's not there. Or that was the idea. They was insinuating The Rock's going to be there. He didn't show up. So this is going to be – I think this will be the worst market to try to get a pop for Cena because it's going to be mostly nerds traveling to California. You think normal people are going to California to see Cody Rhodes?
You're right.
To see Dominic, which, I mean, the storyline makes sense, but The Rock's it is no concrete reason that The Rock's going to be there. A popular character like The Fiend's not going to be, even though I didn't like it, but it was still popular. They're not about to travel to go see that. So this is going to be but it's going to be mostly marked. I highly doubt they get anything near that 80,000 threshold. They're going to lie and say they did, but most of those tickets got comped. It's going to be probably about 40,000 people at WrestleMania, and a lot of those tickets going to be discounted. It might be 40,000 actual paid people that paid full price at WrestleMania. And those are going to be neck beers from all across the world. Because there's probably only about 40,000 actual wrestling fans left. That million and all that stuff is inflated from people watching at home. Live attendance, I highly doubt, with the exception of the big pay-per-views like WrestleMania, more than 10,000 people actually go to Raw. I highly doubt it. It might be closer to like 2,000 or 3,000 that actually go to like consistently on a week-to-week basis to Raw. It might be down to about 2,000 or 3,000 people. Because that's how bad wrestling is now. It's that bad.
Yes, It's not 98 no more.
No, it's not even. Hell, forget 98. It's not 2006, where it was still a lot of people going to the shows to see Umaga, to see Jeff Hardy, to see Crime Time, to see the divas that was to Lita Trish, all the women that was to all the hot Playboy stuff, all the Diva Search stuff. It's not even. I'm not even go back to 98, even though that was a higher year. Hell, it's not even 2006 where Vince. What up, G? Vince was there with the God and all that crazy stuff. It's not even that. Forget 98. It's not even 2006 in WWE. It is awful. They're at the lowest point. I don't know how I can further. And this is the perfect place to end this show on. It is going to be awful, but we'll be back. Thank you to Omari as always. It's nice having him on with JoJo. Will be back with us on Sunday for the full coverage. We'll do that Sunday evening after WrestleMania goes off the air, which hopefully, for the love of God, hopefully it's done by at least 10 o'clock because I don't want to be up all night thinking about wrestling. I'd rather do other shit because I'm off Monday. I don't want to burn.
I'm gonna head out.
All right, Omari. Later, man.
But I'm gonna end it on this. Where you was right. It's not even 06 no more. At least because you had a lot of stuff. 06, in my opinion, might be one. It's like
the better years of the ruthless aggression. It was.
Yeah, because you had a lot of stuff that year. You had DS coming back.
Yep.
You had Umaga.
Umaga.
You had You had arguably the greatest feud of that era.
Edge and John Cena.
Yeah, I love that feud. That feud represents what we don't see no more.
And you had tag team wrestling was watchable too. You had a lot of good tag teams around that time. Crime Time was hilarious. Lita and Trish was doing it. Like I said, the women's stuff was entertaining too. 06, 07 was like the last really where you get excited to see Raw damn near every week. That was like the last year. I would say probably 06. But yeah, y'all, thank y'all for being here, man. Top Dog Omari on Twitter. He joined us today, man. Me, it's TJ Time 1991. JoJo Mississippi 1986. Red Bull and Monster. Give me that money, man. Y'all know we be doing good with combat sports. Cough that money up, man. Thank y'all to all the fans. But I'll be on the game in a few hours. I'm not about to get on quite yet. Closer to around 11, I'll get on and play some baseball. I was contemplating going back and forth and getting probably wrestling to stream my GMO, but I don't even know, man. I already got it on the PlayStation. I don't want to pay full price of it on Xbox. I might have to wait for that price to drop, man. I'm just waiting for Street Fighter 6 to come out. And plus, I don't want to do Resident Evil 4 because that's a game I got to commit to playing all the time. And I got to make sure it's good before I get the Resident Evil 4 remake. I got to make sure it's good. So I might get that or wrestling because I'm not trying to drop $70 on wrestling. I already got it on PlayStation. So yeah, I'll catch y'all soon on Twitch, man. And I actually kind of like it. At first, I was mad that I got locked out of my account, but I'm kind of happy now that I got the separate Switch, the Twitch for the podcast and the Twitch for the gaming. So my new Twitch game is called Prodigy Games 2. It's just that simple. Prodigy Games 2, so you'll catch me later. I'll tag y'all in it. But all my followers from Twitch are on the one I'm talking on now, which is the podcast one. But I got locked out with the other phone. It's a pain to get the number, so we just going to keep it the way it is for now. As I said, thank you, Omari, man. And if y'all enjoy WrestleMania, y'all do it tomorrow. I'll probably tweet about little stuff, little clips I see online or whatever. But I am not interested in watching WrestleMania. I'm not that excited, but we'll cover it on Sunday anyway. But y'all be great, and I'll talk to y'all soon, man. God bless y'all, family.